Welcome to the EST Hangout.
This is the EST Hangout, and today's guests are...
Oh, shit. I got dirty already.
Right as we go live. That's what you hear. Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by Two Hoots, Art Iced Tea. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola, and Derek Van Diest with you here on Edmonton Sports Talk.com, on TuneIn, on iHeartRadio, as well as those watching on YouTube.
Sorry about that. That's why I don't wear white.
It got dirty already.
Look at my new swag, and I like how you dropped whatever you're drinking on
water on it already. It was orange water.
Expletive.
Levelware is good stuff.
Yeah.
I do like Levelware.
They hook him up now that he's an NHL employee. They hook him up with so much good swag.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
So, I gotta clean that up.
The EST Hangout presented by Two Hoots, Hard Iced Tea, a Boulder Real Brew Tea. Don't just give a hoot, give two.
You're already like 3/4 deep.
You want to know something? It's an unbelievable day outside already.
It is
We're
gorgeous.
16 degrees on the way in, and it's just going to be incredible weather. Today it's going to get to 26. Tomorrow 26, Sunday 30, Monday 31, Tuesday for the EST Classic 32, Wednesday 34, Thursday 31. All sun. It's glorious. It's wonderful. The only thing we have to worry about, according to Clausen, when it comes to the EST Classic is that smoke. If any smoke rolls in, obviously the forecast will change, but fingers crossed, no smoke really rolls in, and we're good to go.
You're going to see smoke on the golf course when I'm firing away, baby. Hey-oh. I'm getting my first round in tomorrow.
Ranch?
No, my uncle texted me last night, and he asked me if I want. I think, what did he say? Uncle Diego, Meadowview.
They're doing a bunch of renovations out at Meadowview.
And they switched around their orientation of the order of the holes.
Yeah,
too,
1 through 9 is now 10 through. Well, actually, no, it's not full 10 through 18 and stuff. Because they moved one of the holes. I think 1 is now
10.
No.
14?
I think 1 is like 17 now.
Okay, well, I haven't been there. And I think I played there last year. I can't remember.
I think 10 through 18 is now 1 through 9. But then hole 3 is the start of the back 9, and that becomes 10. And then they come with 1 is now 17, 18 is the par 4. It's like a very sloped green. I think that's how they changed it.
Yeah. I'm just looking forward to getting out.
To Larry's why, yes, used to be JR's.
Yeah, it used to be JR's. Yeah. But new owners, I think, new clubhouse.
Oh, beautiful
if I
clubhouse.
recall, yeah,
beautiful
they did a really nice job, and they've fixed some things up, and obviously... It was funny because I have one of those Garmin GPS golf watches that my brother got me. I love it. Like, I think it's great. And it wasn't updated with JR's to Meadowview. So I would be playing a hole, and it's like, you are 743 yards away from the hole. And it just hadn't converted and switched up. So hopefully it's updated. I should update it today. Oh, my God. I haven't plugged that thing in.
Do you golf a lot?
No, well, not really. I was, every summer I say, okay, this year I'm going to go out, this year I'm going to go out. Obviously, I was a little busy this year, so I haven't had a chance to swing the clubs. I'm still recovering from that playoff run, trying to get back into a normal sleeping pattern.
I went and painted. Shout out to my parents, helped me paint the rest of my place. Thanks for letting me park. Mm-hmm. And we went to Kelly's after. My dad's wearing still paint gear, and my mom's like, "Well, we can't go anywhere nice." I'm like, "I know. We'll go somewhere that's nice, but sneaky nice. Kelly's." And they had never eaten there. And shout out to Scott and Stevie over there and Pete. So they had a bite there. They loved it, obviously. And I text him. I'm like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "I'm unpacking my place." I'm like, "Get over here." And we had a beer waiting.
So I got finally, after about 7 months, my place is finally renoed.
It took 7 months.
Yeah, it took a long time.
And there's still issues.
There's still issues. I got issues, a couple issues to deal with, but I solved one myself. I'm pretty
well
happy
done.
With it, yeah. So
usually the contractor takes care of that.
Usually that. And then I got an issue with the shower doors not closing properly, so I got to figure that out. But for the most part, it's not bad. Looks pretty good. So just trying to. You realize you have all these boxes, and you're like, why do I have
that
this
crap?
Garbage? Why do I have this garbage? So I'm just probably just gonna back up a truck and
dump a bunch.
Dump everything.
I remember moving for my parents. It was just like, there's a lot at that point. I was like, I don't need this.
Yeah.
Gone. I'm not taking it.
Yeah.
And you realize how much you collect when you stick in a spot and you go, oh, yeah, maybe I should stop collecting things that I don't need to move.
Don't need.
So I try like once a year or something to go through stuff and throw things away or give things away that I don't need.
Purge.
Yeah. So it's a little purge. So I'm in the middle of that now. So.
But you've recovered from the sleep? Lack of
Yeah,
sleep.
the lack. It was just like the sleep, the travel, the get to the rink, leave early, fly late. Like it was just one of those things that you were burning the candle at both ends. You're trying to get cat naps when you could, trying to sleep on
Yeah.
the plane when you could, and then your body never really gets into a rhythm, right?
Plus, you're going Eastern time zone.
yeah, exactly from
Mountain.
one time zone to another. To not like the playoff run we did all the time. We hit all the time zones. I think.
Yes.
I think we did. Yeah. So
Every
You did
time zone.
East, you did Central, you
did,
did Mountain,
yeah.
and you did Pacific.
Yep.
So we were like we hit all the time.
You just didn't
zones
hit
and-
Newfoundland or
No.
Atlantic.
Atlantic time zone. So it was a great run. It was a lot of fun, but I remember doing it in 2006. It just didn't seem to. Well, I was a lot younger in 2006. It didn't seem to wear as much, but this one kind of the war. Like I think towards the end, going back and forth to Florida, that was the tough one. It
was a long
back
season,
and
though,
forth, back
still.
and forth.
It
back
was.
And forth.
I don't. 2006 didn't go this long, like date wise.
No, I can't remember
It was
when.
like June 20.
Yeah, I can't remember when it was 2006, but this was pretty long.
But 2006, there was not 8 days between games. Like remember we had to wait for June 8th for the Stanley Cup final to start. I think Edmonton eliminated
But they had to wait a little
Dallas
bit.
on like the 1st or 2nd of June.
But they had to wait a little bit because, in 06, the Oilers at least, because they did
Yeah.
in 5 and the other series went 7.
Yes, that's right.
So there was like that.
Buffalo
And then they
Carolina
had about
break.
a 2 or 3 day wait. Like the Oilers didn't get that. They didn't get rewarded that year for winning in 5 because
Right.
they gave Carolina 2 days to recover, where they should have started the series the day after. Like that's the whole way. But so they waited 3 days. The Oilers were ready to go, and I think that was a factor in that series. And
And then somebody threw a player into their goalie, and
then
the
that,
rest is history.
then the rest is history. But I think this time around. It was there for the taking, to be honest with you. And then I think this one's going to sting a little more than the last ones did.
This loss will sting more than.
Than the 2006 one.
But
The only reason I say it depends. If they go win the cup next year, no one thinks about this one as much.
No, that's true.
Right? Like it's automatic. Like
Yeah.
they got their cup.
Yeah.
This was just the building to that cup.
Yeah.
If they never ultimately get a cup, this one will be looked on a lot more
Yeah.
devastating than 06, I would agree.
Yeah. No, I agree
Like
because
that's-
06, and we've talked to all the guys in 06, they weren't even supposed to be there, right? They were playing with house money all the way. They barely made the playoffs. They were the 8th seed in the conference. They upset Detroit. And then they upset Detroit in the way the dominoes fell because then the next, 3 seeds fell as well.
Yep.
So all you had left was 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the conference, or 5, 6, 7, 8 in the conference. So I think that worked out well for them. This time around, it was a little tougher road. Dallas was a tougher road.
06 is a Cinderella run.
Yes.
This was a good team on their Stanley Cup run.
This is the, yeah.
This is what they should have done. And that's the differences
Yeah,
between
and they made things harder for them than they probably should have. But
hey, here's a question for you, because you were going back and forth, and you know how crazy we both live downtown, and or all three of us do. We would see it every morning.
This is the Hangout headlines brought to you by the Ranch Golf and Country Club. I just want to get into that because this leads in perfectly.
Oh, okay.
Offering premier conditions, top-notch service, unmatched value. Book your tee time at the Ranch Golf at the ranchgolf.com, the place you're going to want to golf this golf season. Sorry.
No,
continue.
I forgot. That's okay. I'm kidding.
We live downtown.
We live downtown. We all live downtown. And then even non-game days, we're seeing people. Everybody's wearing Oilers stuff. Everybody's excited. You go to a coffee shop, go to a bar, or restaurant. You go buy groceries. People are like, "What do you think? What do you hear? How about this guy hurt this?" Like it was nonstop, right?
Yeah.
Which was great, and that we expect that here because this is a hockey crazy part of the world. When you were in Fort Lauderdale and Sunrise, like how would you compare it? Like what was the vibe like?
yeah, there was no comparison. Like you couldn't tell the Florida Panthers were in the final at all, unless you went to the Elbow Room, which was the hockey bar, which was taken over by Oilers fans a couple times. So it was there wasn't the same vibe at all. And I think one of the problems with Florida is no one really knows what city that team is in or who they
Well-
belong. Right? They're 40 minutes from Fort Lauderdale. They're an hour or something from Miami.
Yeah.
They're stuck in Sunrise. There's nothing in Sunrise.
Just a
there's-
big strip mall.
Just the big mall.
Yeah.
No one lives out there. I got family that lives in Davie, about 15 minutes away from there, and they'll go to games every now and then.
Tell them
and-
the concert story.
Well, yeah. Well, when I first went out there, I started going out to Florida to go cover a game, and I kind of, like I said, I have family out there, so they live 15 minutes from the arena, and I swung out there and surprised my family, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" I was like, "Oh, I'm here with the hockey team." And my uncle, it's like, "We have a hockey team?" Yeah, they play up the road in that arena. Oh yeah, we go to concerts there all the time. I had no idea we had a hockey team. So that's it's not the same.
Yeah.
No one. Florida, I find that people just are into their own thing, and the worst drivers in the world, by the way.
I would argue Utah has terrible drivers.
I don't know. I've driven a lot of places in the world.
Yeah.
I've never been more terrified than I have been in Florida. Like, even in the story when we were there, we were on a bus and we were on the freeway. And then there's a car in front of us and they have their blinkers on. And they're slowing down right in the middle of the freeway. And the bus driver is freaking out because he's slowing down, because if she stops, then he has to stop on the freeway, and he was worried about getting plowed from behind.
Yeah.
Like, it was really scary. And then, I don't know, I think she missed the turn, or I don't know, whoever, I shouldn't say she, the person that was driving missed the turn.
Yeah.
They decided to slow down and then try to make the turn. And I'm like, oh my
What?
God, people are flying at whatever, 130 kilometers an hour. And you're got your blinkers on trying to make the turn. I'm like, oh, but you see people cut people off all the time, and just, I don't know who hands out licenses, and I don't even know if you need a license to drive for it, right? Land of the free, whatever down there, you do whatever you want. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
That place is nuts. So
I saw a photo of somebody posted on the rink, how it's just swampland behind it.
Yes.
yeah.
There's literally and there's nothing you could do around the area. It's just literal swampland, that goes forever just right by it.
Yeah.
We would stay at the DoubleTree across, because usually it was Tampa, Florida back to back, or vice versa. And we didn't get to stay in Fort Lauderdale very often, certainly not Miami or Miami Beach. So it was either Sunrise or Fort Lauderdale. And you could walk from the DoubleTree, which is, it's like 10 minutes or whatever. And they have like little ponds. And there's signs. You remember these signs that says, look out for alligators?
Yeah. If there's water, there's going to be a gator.
Yeah.
That's, people don't go swimming in the puddles or the ponds.
Yeah, they have like the little storm ponds or
And when
whatever.
you have to walk your dog, you have to be careful. You have to keep the dog on a leash.
Because that's
just
food.
because they'll go in the water and they're gone.
They go.
Like it's unbelievable. Like
Damn gator got my dog.
my cousins live, like, there's a little pond there, and the gators there all the time. I was like,
I couldn't do it. I do not want to be on the lookout for gators.
Adorable.
Yeah.
You got a pool or something. You got to be
Adorable to
careful
eat
every
your
time you
dog.
go outside, just in case a gator is coming to your pool.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
They come cool down in your pool. It's an interesting place. It's an interesting place, but there was no, you know what? People there couldn't care if they won or lost. Like, it was one of those things. Like, you saw the pictures of the parade, right? There was maybe
It was raining too.
it was raining. It was ugly, but they weren't lined up thousands deep to go,
No.
to watch the Florida Panthers, and so
The one video that got me, it was like 2 days after they had beaten Edmonton, and I can't remember which. Maybe it was Barkov, but they were literally carrying the cup down that street.
Yeah,
in
down
Fort
the street in
Lauderdale.
Fort Lauderdale, no one cared.
And yeah, like the one lady's kind of like looking at them, and then there's a few people like beep, 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 honking, and like
try that here in Edmonton. Try carrying
Good
down Jasper
luck.
Ave, see how far you get. Not getting mobbed.
Not gonna happen.
world's
Yeah.
longest conga line if you started walking around with the Stanley Cup around here.
Yeah, so it's just a different vibe. Like I said, Miami.
It's not their favorite thing.
No, but like they're they're not a good sports town, to be honest.
They are not. When LeBron went to the Heat and they had that big three there, but the Heat had to do a campaign to like get your seats early, because Miami was known for showing up midway through the first quarter.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And they're like, wow, we got a good team now. Like, hey, you guys want to show up at the start of games?
Yeah.
And then, Florida's and Miami are just known for show up early, leave early.
Yeah.
Or show up late, leave early.
Yeah, it's just not. It's not. The Marlins are struggling.
And that ballpark is gorgeous.
Yeah, I didn't go. You went to the ball game?
I went to a ball game
Yeah,
at the
that-
draft.
Yeah, there's
I
a
got to go
ball
on the
game
field.
there. So it's not
Run the bases.
and
like a little kid.
No, we couldn't like go on the actual dime. We could go on the field though, and like Ichiro was on the team, and Giancarlo Stanton. He hit a bomb that game, and they still had that weird
That little display thing with the dolphin that goes around.
And he just crushed this thing, and then I didn't notice this till I got there, but the backstop is an aquarium.
yeah,
It
there's
was really
fish.
neat, and a beautiful ballpark.
I don't know if that's still there.
Maybe they
The
got rid of it,
aquarium,
but they had it at the time.
I remember they had problems with the aquarium because the fish were dying. They're just
Yeah,
like-
they do that.
Yeah. Well, the fish were dying, and then they just had floating fish in the aquarium. Okay, maybe we don't want the aquarium.
Bad
But that
PR.
was all paid. That was all taxpayer dollars, so that's why they were able to.
Well, it's the
They're
same with
all
the new Inter Miami Stadium that's coming up.
Is that all taxpayer dollars?
I think it's a big taxpayer funded. There was a There's a filmmaker who did a big piece on just how bad the deal would be for the citizens of
But
Miami
there's no
and
state tax
and
also.
losing a bunch of it took over a development of youth land or something with soccer teams and stuff, and there's a lot of bad deals
Shady.
down there. Oh, big time. We think Phoenix could be bad. I don't think enough people have focused on the Miami area for shadiness when it comes to stadium and arena deals.
Well, Brett Favre, Brett Favre tapped in. He called on some favors from state government, and ended up because his daughter was playing volleyball at
Mississippi.
Mississippi's the poorest state in the U.S. too. That's the fact.
Yeah.
And anyway, so they deferred funds that were supposed to help social causes, single moms, raising young families, stuff like that. And they built a multi-million-dollar volleyball arena because Brett Favre's daughter's on it, and Favre asked the governor or whatever, and then there's an investigative report done that won a Pulitzer. The writer journalist won a Pulitzer for it because it exposed all the corruption and how this money was deferred from what was supposed to be social causes to, Mississippi's university's new facilities, sporting facilities. And I think Favre gave some money and this and that. And now the state is suing the author and the paper for defamation, and they have to they are demanding to reveal their sources, and they won't reveal. You don't reveal your sources as a journalist, especially an investigative journalist. So the author and journalist could end up in jail.
Wow, that'd be interesting to see what happens. But yeah,
Her
that
editor's
happens
backing
all the
her
time.
up, thank
that
God.
happens all the time.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it happens.
But it's
Right?
insane.
You try to silence
You
me.
expose corruption, and then you get penalized for it.
Well,
anyway,
people with the corruption have the power to do that.
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
Take advantage of
That's
that.
scary, man.
Exactly.
Matt texting in says, "Hey guys, Ken confirmed DVD's claim. Florida has worse drivers than Alberta. Some of the worst in the world."
They're terrible.
Matt, I know we don't have the best drivers here, but I
have
swear
idiots out
by
there.
it, Utah is terrible. I can't remember Florida that well.
Yeah, I've never driven in Utah.
Oh,
But when I go to Europe, I rent cars and I drive in Europe.
Yeah.
And so some places are worse than others. South America, I've driven. They're crazy there as well. But just for the recklessness, I think in Florida is the worst. Because guys, especially on those freeways, you're taking your life into your own hands on those freeways, man. It's unbelievable. It's
you see on those freeways sometimes you see all kinds of bizarre random auto parts, and you're like, how does that and that from a car end up on the side of the road on a freeway? And then you drive on it for a few minutes, you're like, oh,
yeah, that's how
I get it.
Yeah, yeah.
There was a car that got crumpled and part of it's still sitting there.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but good on the Panthers to win their Stanley Cup. I'm sure they're enjoying the party. They're gonna enjoy
it's not about
it,
your fan
and
base.
It's
It's about the players on the ice and who
players
can
on
go
the
win.
ice, and we'll see. They were, what the interesting part though is, when we were down there, and yes, they did sell out. They did have fan base, but for Game 7, how many Florida Panthers fans sold their tickets to Oiler fans? The Oiler fans, to be honest, they weren't relatively hard to find. They were all over StubHub, and I think maybe a quarter, not quite a quarter, maybe 20% of that building was Oilers fans, and they took over the national anthem.
That's pretty good considering how hard it's to get there.
You got those tickets. You paid for your season tickets next year.
Yeah.
And then some.
And probably. So, like I said, and Tom and I have been there when there were 6,000 people, $15 tickets plus a hot dog and parking. So it's a tough sell because I really do think they put the arena in the wrong spot. There's no one there. There's you got to drive out there. It's like Ottawa. You got to drive all the way out to Canada. There's nothing out there. I think Canada's been developed a little since.
Yeah.
But these people that get, these land deals, we get the cheap land, let's put the building, people will come. That never works.
No.
And I remember they were talking about that here when they wanted to build the arena, and they wanted to build the arena downtown, and there were some idiot counselors, why don't we put it down by the Yellowhead so people can drive in? It's no, it doesn't work. It never works.
All you're gonna do is create problems on the Yellowhead.
Yeah, all you're gonna do is it just the short-sightedness of some people. It's just baffling, and how they get downtown. You want people to come near downtown core. That's where it works. It's every downtown
parking
arena has
garages.
worked. But go talk to Ottawa, see how fun it is to go out there. Go talk to like Florida. It's not fun to get out there.
No.
Like a lot of places. Raleigh, it's not fun to get out there.
Raleigh's not great. Yeah. Ottawa, I remember it was Hockey Day in Canada, and we were there, and then we had to fly, I think, to Montreal or Toronto after the game. And the highway, because there's one off-ramp in, one off-ramp out of Canada, or to the arena from Canada. And it took us an hour to get from the loading dock at Canadian Tire Center, Scotiabank, or whatever the hell it was called back then, to the actual freeway, which was like literally 150 meters from the rink. But that one off ramp and all the traffic and volume, we were stuck on this damn thing. And I'm like, oh my God, like people in traffic are probably staring into the bus, being like, oh, there's the Oilers, there's Taylor Hall, there's whatever, Nail Yakupov.
Arizona's the same way.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I went to Arizona, we were driving. I was like, where are we going? And then the football stadium pops out of nowhere, and then tucked in behind was the hockey arena.
I still love that
nothing
area.
out here. They've obviously
developed now.
Developed now. I guess I was like, well, let's develop it. Then the team moves out. Then who's going out there now? For what? 8,
So Gary,
9
they were
football games
right.
a year?
They just were way too early in the NHL
For what?
for that area.
Oh, for
Like
that,
20 years too early.
Well,
Because I was there last January, and it's a great little area.
It is.
There's a lot happening in that area, actually, and there's a lot to do there. And I was like, hey, I'd buy a house in this area. And
prices
but
are good.
everyone that's just been there before me goes, there was nothing there.
There was
before.
nothing there.
There's absolutely nothing there before. So like the NHL was well ahead of its time. And that's the shame, is that you got it. You were right, but you were wrong.
They built the arena in the wrong spot. That's what everyone keeps saying. They should have built the arena in a different part of town.
Yeah, downtown in Scottsdale. Do you remember the one time we were there, and it was a real, I don't know if it was before an American holiday or whatever, but it was quiet. It was like a Tuesday, and so we stayed at the Renaissance right beside the arena, obviously. And you and I and Champa were like, well, let's go get a bite to eat and a beer, because there's all those pubs and restaurants, and they stay open because they need to be open. And we went. Remember, they have that like rock bar, and we went in there, and the girls are wearing like the chaps and stuff, and they're like sassy, and they give you shit, and they're really. It was fun,
trying to
but like
remember that,
we go in there, and like you hear this loud music, like this is gonna be great, and there's like 2 bikers sitting in there, and like 6 people working, and you're like, this is terrible. And then you go into they have the Western place. You go across, and there's the same thing, like 2 old guys that were golfing all day and pissed drunk.
Yeah.
And then you're in there, and poor 21-year-old girl just like waiting for these guys to leave so she can go home. And then there's the Irish bar there. You do the same thing. Like, it's just like there's
during the week, there's
nobody
nothing
there.
going
There was
on.
nobody there. It was so sad.
Yeah. So,
It
but
was this monster entertainment complex, just completely empty.
well, we'll see what happens with Florida. But yeah, going out to that, there's nothing around that arena. Like you can't even. And they were charging people $100 to park there. There's no other way to get there. And then you weren't allowed to park at the mall and walk over, because they used to do that. So they were like, it was just unbelievable.
They'll get you.
They will get you $100 to park.
Yeah. That parking's ridiculous. The Cowboys Stadium has ridiculous parking. Levi's Stadium, I think, or San Fran's been known for ridiculous parking.
Yeah.
It can be pretty. Actually, when I was in Atlanta for Copa, it was my dad and I were walking around. It's like only like $20 or something and stuff, and like for the day, and we're like, well, that seems really cheap. Like you probably could be charging a lot more for that right now, but you're not. So good on you.
Did you enjoy Atlanta? I've been there. I was there once.
The city's okay. Yeah. Like it's not a city that I would say anyone, unless you're going for sports, it's not to me a for sure must go visit.
Yeah.
You go spend 2-3 days there, you're good.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
if you're gonna drive somewhere, road trip somewhere, and Atlanta's still there, go stop there for a couple days. But I'm not gonna say destination for people. Go to necessarily go see Atlanta.
Yeah.
It's like Houston. Houston's like big. Although Belsey and Cass loved Houston.
I was about to say they both of them.
Yeah.
Praise that.
I've
city.
actually never been to Houston.
I was there during the lockout because the Barons would play against the Arrows. And Champa and I went, we spent like 3 or 4 days there. And I was like, I don't know. It's just huge. It's big. It's very big. And like concrete and kind of.
Is there things to
faceless? Yeah, but like you got to kind of work your way out. We were right downtown by the arena. I don't know. I'd go back. Like I love Texas. So
Everything's big in Texas.
yeah, it is.
Yeah, Texas. So it's an interesting place too. Mind you, Dallas. I talked to people from Dallas. Dallas is kind of an outlier. They don't like to be referred to as Texans in Dallas. They're like from Dallas. Yeah, it's a little bit more liberal city in Dallas, arts and culture and things like that.
That's Austin.
Austin's like that too.
Austin's like
Austin's amazing.
Austin's
I love 'em.
Edmonton by all accounts.
And-
It's like if
in
you took
so
Nashville,
many different ways.
Yeah, and Portland.
Austin is Edmonton.
yeah.
I would like to go see Austin. They got that big music festival.
South by Southwest.
Yeah.
It's a really cool place. They have 6th Street, I think, is the fun. That's their Broadway.
Is it?
Yeah, it's awesome. I loved Austin. I thought it was a beautiful city. It has the arts and the culture, the music, obviously, and then sneaky good sports. They have the Texas Stars play there, and
Oh, that's where they play.
yeah, well, Cedar Park, which is like a suburb of it, in a nice new-ish arena. And then what is it? University of Texas is there?
Okay.
Longhorns are there?
Yeah.
Or Austin?
I think so.
I have no idea.
I believe it
I
is,
never
'cause
know
I
where
went by the
I never
stadium.
know where all of them are in Dallas or in the state of Texas. Like I don't know where
Pretty sure,
A&M is. Obviously, Houston is Houston.
SMU's in Dallas.
SMU's Dallas.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Southern
don't know where
Methodist
Longhorns is.
University.
Yeah.
yeah.
And there's Corpus Christi. I think is that TCU?
And that Corpus Christi is on the coast. Or no, is it up high? I can't remember. I don't remember my orientation.
Yeah. See, that's
Corpus Christi. Anyway.
it is what it is.
It's a-
I
it's a
just know the
huge-
team names. School names. I just don't know where the hell they are in
Texas
Texas.
could be a country. It's a huge
Yeah, it's
piece
massive.
of land,
It's
and
huge.
I think there's like 30 million people living there.
so could California.
Yeah, very
The
much
United
like
States
California.
should be like 5 different countries, to be honest with you.
Yeah, well, we might not be far off from that one day. What did you make of the Oilers from this week?
Make it the
Yeah, the
work.
moves,
Oh,
the
great
moves.
moves. Great
Yeah.
moves. I liked them all. I really liked the Jeff Skinner move. Just talking to this guy, 15 years in the league, never seen a playoff game. Like,
I know.
That's
That's tough.
harsh.
Yeah.
That's harsh. I'm talking about this last night. Like he's only a year removed from scoring 40 goals. So
82 points, whatever it was?
Yeah, 40 goals, 82 points. So he had an offseason this year. I don't know what they were expecting in Buffalo, but they cut bait with him kind of surprisingly. 3 years left on his contract, $9 million a year. So they'll be paying him $4.5 million a year for the next 6 years. And that's good on the Oilers because the Oilers said, hey, we'll give you $3 million a year. So you're getting this player at a third of the price who you're probably expecting double the production that he had last year. Like this guy could score another 35, 40 goals for you. Plays on your top line, plays with McDavid, finishes the way he can finish. Like you're talking about, that's an impressive signing to me. And to get him at that price point.
The Oilers are pretty good at the come here for a year,
Come here
build
for
up your value, and go off somewhere.
Yeah.
Although a lot of those players don't go off somewhere, they end up staying. This year.
Yeah, but I think the sell job was look how close we got. You want to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
And as Henrik said it, if you want to win a Stanley Cup, it's going to cost you money. It's just the way it is. So do you want to win? Do you want to make money? And I think I'm at the point in my career I want to win. I've never won. Jeff Skinner has made a lot of money. And he's at the point where it's like, I've never even played a playoff game.
See, I
Like,
wonder if that's just it. Like also just like, hey, I'm going to be in the playoffs
I'm
next
gonna be
year.
in the playoffs.
I'll give $2 million
Yeah.
to play in the playoffs
let's
next
play
year.
in the playoffs. Let's see if we can make a run. Let's see if I can get, because it reminds me of Jay Bomey's story. I knew Jay Bomey's story real well. Spent all that time in Florida. They didn't go anywhere. Didn't do anything. Went to Calgary. Spent that time in Calgary. Didn't go anywhere. Didn't do anything. Took him to St. Louis to finally make the playoffs. And was like 10, 11 years in the league without making the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Then he ended up winning a cup there. And then now he's a Stanley Cup champion. So I think, maybe Skinner looks at it and comes here, has a good year. And Reeks, he obviously liked what he saw. He liked what he saw in the organization and the team and the city. And that's something he's not used to playing in California for however long he was, right? So it's a little different. So, you want to get a taste of that. So good on him for, he left money on the table. He could have gone somewhere else. His family probably wanted him to stay where he was. And so good on him to kind of come in here. And then, the Arvidsson, that's a good
I like
deal.
that one.
That's a good deal, I think. That's a point-of-game player.
When healthy. That's the
healthy.
key. He's got to be healthy.
Good
Yeah.
point.
But if he's healthy,
He's healthy. You got a point-of-game guy. So now you've added maybe, 3 70 to 80-point guys on your roster? Like, on a team that was already the top-scoring team in the league? It's going to be some 80s nights, I think, down at the rink,
I I look forward to some defensive responsibility from these veteran forwards on top of the offensive prowess.
It's going to be like 9-2, 9-3 games down there this
That's
year.
okay.
And I think a lot of guys are seeing that going, oh, man. Like, if Jeff Skinner gets 80 points, 82 points, 90 points this year, then suddenly he's going to get he's going to get a $7 million contract
Great.
somewhere, $6 million contract somewhere, right? So he's playing at a discount. What do they call it? Banking on themselves type thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they're all
Show me
doing.
contract.
Yeah. So and
Type
Henrique's
thing.
at the point that he wants to win a cup. He wants to win a cup, and after
That
a
one
while it gets old.
surprised me.
After a while it gets old. I know you thought he was gone for sure.
I thought he was gone, and it sounded like, you know,
After a while, I think it gets old. Just never making the playoffs and having to watch it on TV. Like it's nice they have that time off, but eventually you play to win, and that's what a lot of guys say. That's what Dry said. We play to win the game,
That's the dream growing up.
right? And you don't win. You don't play. You don't say, "Oh, I want to be in the NHL," and then not make the playoffs every year.
Well, who was interested
Have a
in
long
Henrique?
summer.
It was the Lightning and the Jets, I know for sure.
in Henrique.
The
Yeah.
Jets
Yeah.
were. The Jets were.
Yeah,
He
And it's
wasn't-
like, okay, well, if you're Henrique, okay, Lightning, there's a shot there, but
Sure.
they're on that downward slope. Can they get it back up? Jets aren't closer than the Oilers. So it's, okay, do I go for that extra mil or two or whatever it is, or do I play for the cup?
yeah.
And there's no better spot than the Oilers.
Even Jeff Jackson didn't sound 100% convinced because he did his post free agency availability, and he's like, yeah, Henrique, like, and watching him in the availability, he's like, yeah, to be determined. Like, we're still kind of working on it. We'll see. It didn't sound like it was too far down the road, and then a couple hours later, it's like the Oilers have re-signed Adam Henrique. What
Well, the
hell?
funny thing is who's doing all the negotiating? Because they went Janmark, Brown, Henrique, Skinner. Like they just bang, 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 knocking all these
Perry.
guys off. Perry, he's knocking them off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, all on the first. It's like they wanted to let's get it all done so then we can go on holidays, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, but he can't go on all this. He needs a general manager, Jeff Jackson.
well, he does need a general. I'm
That's
sure
his next process. Like,
I'm sure he
it's-
has someone in mind. I'm sure he's going to come in here. But general manager to do what? All the heavy lifting's been done. Like if you needed a GM to sign players, and yeah, there's a rush. But now we signed all your guys. Here's your team. Like,
Well, you need to get under the cap. You need to sign Holloway. You need to sign Broberg. You need to get the dry settled done.
Yeah.
That's the order of what has to happen this season.
Bill Scott will handle the cap suggestion. Like he'll direct and show, here's how you can work the cap and massage it. This
Which I'm
way, that
assuming
way.
they have plans for how to get under the cap.
And then Draisaitl, like I was saying earlier in the week, I think that's going to be like Jackson, Daryl Cates, and even Paul Coffey, maybe a little bit outside of the GM. Like, do you not get the sense that this next GM for the team is more so going to be caretaker than mover and shaker? And then somebody asked me too about like, well, what about president? Who's going to be the president of hockey operations? I don't think you necessarily need one because how many teams have a CEO? Like that was a kind of a new title for a hockey guy within a team that Jeff Jackson has. I guess that's essentially a step above president of hockey operations.
Oh, would be.
Yeah, so like you don't really need the old POHO.
no.
You get the GM, he kind of oversees the team day to day, caretaker-esque, and then the CEO takes care of the
I think
the
that
big
was
stuff.
it too. I think it wasn't Kenny Holland making all the moves at the end. Like he had to go through 3 or 4 guys to finally pull off a move. I think, and you don't if you knew the guy was going out the door, you don't give him free reign
Yeah,
to do
absolutely.
stuff, right? So
Did
I
you
think-
notice Kenny, like we saw less of him and he wasn't as engaging throughout
Well,
the year?
yeah, a little bit, but I think he was. Every time I'd talk to him, I'd ask him what's going on. He's like, I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I think they all knew that
Yeah.
he was going to move on, do something else. So it would have been nice for them to win the cup, and he could have walked away as Stanley Cup champion.
Perfect way to retire
It would have
at
been a
that
perfect
point,
way.
too.
It was like, so it was all there. So I know he was pretty upset. Like they were all upset. Like it was. I remember the devastation in 2006. We walked into the room about half hour after the game was over, and they're all still in their equipment, and they're all sitting there in disbelief that they got this far. And then the same thing. The Oilers, like they brought McDavid out. They brought the guys out, and because there's a little like media area beside the dressing room. I didn't even go in the dressing room, and it just. What do you ask? Their guts had just been ripped out. Like they're just, you felt bad. Like, what do I ask? How do you feel? Of course, you know how they feel. We've all been there. Not to that extent, but we've all been there. Like the disappointment. I almost wanted to give David a hug. I felt so bad for the guy, and they were just devastated because they were convinced they were going to win that game. And I think a lot of people were convinced they were going to win that game. And when it was 1-1, I was convinced they were going to win that game. And then there was
They were right there.
they were right there. Like, get hit a goalpost. Bouchard hits the goalpost. That goes in, makes it 2-1. That's a different story.
Yeah.
They're down 2-1. It wasn't a great goal. The 2-1 goal wasn't a great goal. But then they're down 2-1. McDavid has a chance in front. Hyman has a chance in front. People are like, oh, McDavid did nothing in Game 7. He was all over the ice. Like, they spent a little too much time in their own zone in the first period, but he was all over the ice in Game 7. Every time he touched the puck, everyone was just like holding their breath. Like, they knew something was going to happen. But it's one of those things that, Draisaitl was playing hurt. A lot of guys were just on their last legs there.
Yeah.
So it was unfortunate. And Florida did what they did.
Someone also asked me, like, during that game when they were down, at any point, did you know that it was over? Or think that, okay, they're not going to tie it up? And I said, honestly, no, because they could score so quickly.
Yeah.
And they can score in bunches, and they did it in the playoffs. So, no, not for 1 minute did I like the way the direction of the game was going from an Oilers standpoint. No, not necessarily. But they have those guys, even though they were banged up, that were capable of getting one and then another one where you could turn a 2-1 deficit into a 3-2 lead. And I was like, no, they were in it till the end. I know the last 90 seconds weren't great.
No, but they didn't get any. They only had one power play. If they would have got another power play, they would have found a way to score. And there was an opportunity there. There was a trip right in front of the referee, and he kind of looked at it and shook his head, and then like, that's a trip, dude.
But you get the pulled goalie, and that's technically a power play.
Technically, I guess, yeah. 6-on-5.
And couldn't get into the zone and actually
set
told
up.
me the 90 seconds they just
Wasn't
couldn't
great.
properly set up.
Yeah.
And get that going. Yeah, but that's me. As long as it's a 1-goal game, like I just felt like they were going to score with like 20 seconds left or something.
I felt they were going to score. You just felt that they were going to score, but it wasn't meant to be. So, but they reloaded for next year. So
You'll be recharged and back on that NHL charter.
Another big was the NHL media charter.
Okay.
But there's a lot more important people on there than I was.
You were having a cab sav with Gary.
Actually, I don't think Gary Bettman was on that charter, but Messier was, and PK Subban was, and the big shots from TNT,
big broadcasters,
the broadcaster guys, right? Yeah. Some of those guys think they're bigger than they are. Like, it's funny. Like, there's just American broadcasters. Like, you broadcast hockey in the United States, nobody cares. Like, you're not like
shots
I
fired.
shouldn't say nobody cares, but I'm like, you got the humble guys like McLean and Rudy, and those guys are humble. They're nice. You can go talk to them. And
Yeah.
Like, a lot more people know who Ron McLean is than they know whoever's hosting
Steve
ESPN.
Levy?
Steve Levy. Steve Levy walked down the street. I wouldn't even know who he was.
He's a big deal.
I guess he thinks he's a big deal. I know that.
He hosted Sports Center for a long time.
Yeah. So
Now, but there's some others on. I'm not the biggest ESPN fan, but there's some others on there. You're like, how are you in this position? It doesn't make sense.
yeah.
I'm just gonna say
they
that.
just need to fill out spots.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't understand the obsession with Stephen A. Smith in the States. This guy is, to me.
Do you
Come
know
on.
what?
You hate him because he hates the Cowboys.
No, I hate him because
thought he liked the
he's
Cowboys.
obnoxious.
Oh, he likes
and
the Cowboys? I thought he hated the Cowboys.
No, he hates the Cowboys.
Yeah, he laughs
Cowboys.
at them.
I think he's
forget what it is.
obnoxious, and I just don't
Yeah.
think he brings anything to the conversation. All he does is just tell people how stupid and dumb they are, but he never makes arguments and points.
He turned that into 90 mil. Sorry, Matty.
The two
did.
things I'll say: one is he is a hard worker. He's always on. He's always ready to work. So I will give him credit for that. I always have to give him credit. He's always available. He'll do his radio show. He'll be on TV at any moment you need him. There's other people that will do just their little bit, and then they won't do anything else. And he's all over the place. The reason I could see his appeal is just from being in radio. It was never the best radio. But when you go to calls, you'd get that terrible caller that would call in, and people would be so pissed.
Yeah.
They would text in how dumb this person is, but it would fire people up, and more calls would come because they wanted to call to say how stupid this other person was. And I feel like that's the Stephen A. Smith, is that
'Cause he's just really-
so dumb, and with his comments sometimes, or his takes are so dumb, it fires you up, so you have to watch because you're just fired up because Stephen A. And it just sucks you in somehow. It's like seeing a car crash as you drive by. You're just stuck having to watch Stephen A. Smith. So I think that's the appeal for people, is that they don't agree with him. They don't like him, but he sucks them in with those takes because he could balance it enough. Like, he's not Skip Bayless. Skip Bayless is even worse.
Yeah.
I just saw a take from
That
Skip
guy's
Bayless.
terrible.
Oh, I saw a take today that he said he always believed that Bronny James has more of a clutch gene than LeBron James.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Like, and it's like,
Even I know that.
like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like, so Skip is taking it so far that no one even like focuses on Skip almost anymore. Whereas Steven still balances that line of where people completely tune away to everyone says, how's this guy on TV? How's this guy making $90 million? These are the worst takes ever.
He is, yes.
But I'll still watch it somehow.
Well, I tried to watch it and I couldn't. It's like he's got terrible takes. He knows nothing about, if it's not football or basketball, he knows nothing. And I don't even think he knows much about football or basketball, to be honest with you. Like, it's awful takes. He screams, and all he does is arguments are always, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. If you knew basketball better, you would know.
Oh, thanks. True.
That's all he says. That's like, make your point. Don't tell me. Don't berate me. Well, if you knew football better, you would know what you're talking about. Okay, well, you tell me then. He doesn't.
That's a sign of insecurity.
Like, it's a total insecurity. He's like, you obviously don't know what you're talking about. And those people that don't follow basketball. This is the guy that said the Raptors are going to lose in every round, remember? And then they ended up going to the final, and he's like, oh, wow, they're going to get killed by Golden State. There's no chance. Anyone that knows anything about basketball knows the Raptors don't have any chance. And then the Raptors end up winning. Like, it just, every take is wrong. He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. And honestly, I just like, why is this guy so popular? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's an American thing.
The Americans love that.
They just
their sports radio is the same thing. It's the hot take to an extreme. That's what they want in the States. That's what Americans love.
Well, it's funny because I think the Americans are not, when it comes, they're just fans. They're not that knowledgeable about the sport they're watching.
And that's why those games are fun, because they go and they get rowdy.
They get rowdy and watch it, but they have no clue what's going on.
They don't know. They don't care what the offensive tree looks like. They don't want to know. Like,
no, and I think that's a difference. And especially in hockey, they have no clue what's going on. So, but yeah,
but then PK trying to do those hot take things this year. You know, like what did like
PK's trying to be a bigger personality.
Oilers, he said in the comments about various at times this season with the Oilers, and it's just you're trying for this hot take to try to be that Stephen A. Smith of hockey now or something.
PK had, what did he have earlier in the year? It was like after the Oilers started to chip away at their hole that they had dug themselves. He went on and he was saying stuff about the team that would have been correct like a month and a half prior. And it's like, whoa, dude, have you watched them in the last 3 weeks? And so this is just kind of
that's him being trying to be the hot take guy.
Yeah,
it's like he was on, I think, Pat McAfee for that one, because I remember exactly what you're talking about.
Thing.
Yeah, and he made that hot take, and everyone was like, "Do you even watch this team play? Like, what are you talking about?" But then he would have been right in November. Pat McAfee, there's another guy. What's the appeal of this guy?
I kind of like the way he throws out his show. Like, he tosses to his merry men in the one corner. He makes fun of the guys in the booth. He has an enthusiasm and positivity. I think that's kind of part of his appeal. Plus, I mean, he was a punter, but he played.
He was a punter.
But he has good connections.
Kickers don't even count.
I like that, but that's the thing is, like, I think positivity and enthusiasm and a desire to learn and understand, take in information kind of appeals to people, as opposed to negativity, telling everyone in the room that they're idiots. That might garner attention because people want to see, they're going to go at it. But I think that's part of McAfee's allure is he wants to have that.
It's a nice contrast from the Stephen A. Smith where you watch First Take or whatever, and there's yelling and Stephen A. saying, you don't know what you're talking about because you don't know football. To then, teach me about this.
Yeah, exactly.
And then more positive. I get that. I never thought of it that way.
That's when I watch him.
If you flip, you go from the one and you're all angry and all of a sudden then you throw on Pat McAfee and all of a sudden it's more lovey-dovey and things are great. It's like, that's nice for the soul. Like the sports soul.
McAfee and his hockey fascination, like, he talks about it, right? And he gets people on and he's like, man, I saw this goal last night. What the hell happened there? And then, he'll get a hockey guy on and he'll be like, well, this happened. Dude, I didn't know about that. Oh, that's crazy. This sport's awesome. Like, the willingness to know more and to defer to the experts and to bring them on and give them that platform. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Everything you're saying there also reminds me of Jason Strudwick.
Well,
when Struddy did his night show or stuff, he always loved, like, there's a guy that could have just talked hockey for 3 hours. He loved getting guests on from different sports and went, you're the expert, teach me.
Exactly, and that's awesome.
And I loved it. And like, Struddy's shows were the best because that's the way he goes into it. He's a very positive guy too.
Yeah.
He's wonderful. He's lovely. And would try to learn about other things and bring someone on and be like, educate me.
Yeah, at the end of the segment, you're like, oh, Didn't know that. That was fun. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like the majority of viewers and listeners of sports shows that don't want to dive into the X's and O's and this and that can appreciate that. And like, he'd be like, that was fun to watch, or that was fun to listen. And that's a great example.
When a guy
Struddy's
doesn't
like that.
come across that he knows everything about everything.
Yeah.
it's a bit
We should
more
create
appealing.
Struddy as the new Pat McAfee of Canada.
Yeah, let's
Let's
just
get
get
him a
him a bunch
show
of
and-
cut, no sleeves.
And standing up.
Yeah.
We'll like with Rashog, he's got to stand up now.
Yeah.
Not
He
sit.
Wears a bandana every now and then.
Always. Yes. We're going to have to make him the Pat McAfee of
Pat
Canada.
McAfee
Yeah.
of Canada,
That's the
yeah.
goal now.
No, I guess you're right. When a guy can admit that he's not an expert, I don't see the appeal of Stephen A. Smith at all.
I
And
get it.
Just
No,
getting
that's-
paid. Like I said, every argument he makes is, well, you just don't know what you're talking about. That's not an argument.
Tries to go to commercial.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know football. If you knew football, you wouldn't make this argument. Like, okay, well, you make an argument for me. We got to go to break.
Portions of this hour of the EST Hangout brought to you by the 2024 Hlinka Gretzky Cup. It's coming to Edmonton this summer. Rogers Place will host the best U18 hockey players in the world August 5th through the 10th. 7-game, 14-game ticket packs available at hlinkagretzky.ca or ticketmaster.ca. This is the EST Hangout presented by Two Hoots Hard Iced Tea here on EdmontonSportsTalk.com, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, as well as on YouTube. Matt Iwanyk, Derek Vagan, Diest from NHL.com, and Tom Gazzola with you here on the Hangouts.
Here's a good point by Lance. Text into the Paris Jewelers inbox, 780-218-9999. Lance says, Pat McAfee makes it feel like I'm just talking sports with my buddy. He's just a fan. He's not trying to be right or break anything down. He just is a big, dumb fan friend.
Yeah, that makes sense, I guess, yeah.
And I like that. I like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
That's a good way to describe it, Lance. And that's okay. Like, you're shooting the breeze with your buddy, and they rip on each other on his show, and
Still, AJ Hawk is still weirds me out on that show.
I don't get the AJ Hawk thing.
He's also not centered always. Like, he's not centered in his shot, and his books are flipped around. The spine of the book isn't facing outwards. It's the other part of the
That's weird.
pages. It makes no sense. Like, you go look at it, and it's not the spine of the book, and you're going like, "What's with your backdrop, dude?
I feel like-
What's with your bookshelf?"
I feel like
clearly this can't be a green screen, because what at green screen has the book without a spine? Like, what's going on here?
I feel like AJ Hawk is just like always just on there staring at the camera, and he's not really saying anything.
It's very hard to find clips of him saying things.
Yes,
nah, you can get that gig, not bad
the
gig.
great gig.
Great gig, just sit there and not say anything.
Yes, that's true.
This can be a good game. Spain, Germany.
Yes, let's actually get to Road Warriors. Presented by AccuSteel Heavy Haul Trailers, custom manufacturing heavy haul trailers, quality, innovation, integrity. Trailers for mining, oil and gas, equipment, and highway transportation. No patch jobs, better than new solutions. Trusted by the leaders in the heavy transport industry. Get on the road with peace of mind for your large loads. AccuSteel.ca. We will get to Euro discussion right away as this game is about to start between Germany and Spain. But let's look at the Canadians first.
All right.
They're out in Dallas on the road as they
Yeah.
take on Venezuela, Copa America quarterfinal. How big's the loss of Tajon Buchanan, do you think? Based on what we've seen this
Well,
tournament.
he
I guess.
wasn't, as they say, in form. So
Yeah.
I think he was struggling with something. But that's a big loss for Canada. But I think it's also like Tajon he was looking forward to a big season.
With
He
Inter.
was going to Italy. He's going to go play with Inter. He's a future of this team. He's a future star. So he's kind of just come around in the last couple of years. So he's a great player. Yeah, and I think they're gonna miss him. They could have used him down the wing. It's a big loss, and you just hope that it's the injury. When you break your leg in training, you never want to break your. That's like getting hurt working out in the gym. Like you never want to do that. You never want to.
I'm intrigued how it happened.
I'm sure it was a tackle.
Well, it had to be like, and I feel for whatever player did that to him, but it's also like, because how else do you break tibia?
You go in, it happens. Sometimes the guys get competitive in practice too, and you go in there and you make a tackle and your foot's wrong and whatever. Like you're not going in there trying to intentionally hurt your player, but you're going in there to win a ball, and I've seen it happen. Like I've been in some intense training sessions too, with guys crack each other. So it was unfortunate. It's going to be a big loss, but I like Canada's chances today. I really do. I think Venezuela is not one of those upper echelon South American teams. They're not. They're usually kind of a bottom feeder team. They've got some good young players. They've got to this point, but they're not Brazil. They're not Argentina. They're not Colombia. They're not Uruguay. You know, they're not one of the big 5 teams. So
But they are in form right now.
well, they're playing well. Yeah, they're playing well, and they've been together. I think the thing with Venezuela is this group of players has been together since they're like 15 years old, so they know each other really well. So they kind of brought this group up together to kind of be competitive. Whether or not they get to and qualify for World Cup, I don't know if that's going to happen, but
They're sitting in a good spot at the moment. They did go to Brazil and snag a draw.
they did get a draw,
Which is a big thing. Right now, they're sitting 4th in CONMEBOL qualifying, but there's a long way to go for that one. They're at 9 points. To drop out is 5 points. So, like that, at the very least, that's the part that scares me. Is that they're just currently, I think, on a run right now of playing good football.
Yeah, no, they're playing well, and Canada's going to have to defend well. They've defended obviously extremely well so far in this tournament.
Carpo's been great.
Yeah, he's been fantastic. And you talk about leg injuries. He broke his leg in the MLS final just before the World Cup on a terrible challenge. Like he's lying there with his leg broken. He got a red card. The referee
He got the red card.
Yeah.
He deserved it. Like the player was coming in basically on a break, and he ran out to go get them, and they collided, and he breaks his leg.
He breaks his leg, and he's lying there.
But the ref has to come give you a red card. And
Sorry, man.
It's awful. I felt terrible for him because he was going to go to the World Cup as Canada's number 2. Breaks. It was a terrible challenge. It was the red card. Deserving of a red card. It's too bad he broke his leg on him. Almost broke the other guy's leg. But so it's nice to see him bounce back and play as well. He's going to be the number 1 guy here, I think, for Canada for a little bit. And so he's playing real well. And Canada defends well. They defend well. And this new coach, he likes to defend and work his way out from defense.
It's weird to say Canada defends well.
It is.
I'm not gonna lie.
That
was always the big concern is, hey, they could go score goals or something. Like, can they defend though? To hear you say Canada defends well right now, like,
well,
it's
and
wow.
I think what I like about Jesse Marsh, what I like what he's doing is, I don't like when coaches try to fit players into a system. I think the system has to fit the players. I've always been that type of guy. So I've always, when a coach says to me, well, we're going to play this way. It's like, you don't even know who you have on your team yet. What if you don't have the players to play a certain way, right?
Right. No, I get that.
So I think I'm a big believer is you assess your talent.
Yes.
You assess what you have, what they do best, and then you mold a system around the talent.
You manage your team.
Yeah.
You don't manage a system.
Exactly. And I think that's what he's kind of doing. So I can see today, for example, I think there's going to be a lot of defending and counterattacking. They can put some pressure on Venezuela. Venezuela moves the ball around really well. They have some pretty quick players. So if Canada's okay with kind of sitting back and defending and then hitting on the counterattacks, I'd still like to see Alphonso Davies play a little higher up the field.
He's been quiet this tournament.
Yeah, because he's played too far back and he gets lost. You're kind of stuffing him in a corner. Like I wouldn't mind put him in the middle of the field.
Who'd you pair with him on the left side then though? If he's up, who'd you put back?
Well, I'm sure there's someone there.
That's where I think a Sam Adekubi injury and him not being there hurts, because I always felt like back at the World Cup in the qualifying, those two when they were together on that left side, they worked so well together when Davies was up the pitch, and they could work like they just had a chemistry.
No, they do, and I think he's getting lost. Like you're hiding your best player, in my opinion.
He didn't have a lot of touches in that game last week, did he?
No, he was. There wasn't a lot with him.
No, because
Liam Miller had all the touches.
Liam Miller. Yeah,
that's the only problem with the Buchanan injuries. I think we're going to see a lot more Liam Miller.
More Liam Miller.
Even I was like, why do you keep putting the ball on his?
And that was you didn't even see the full match of Liam Miller. He's been playing starting other matches.
You guys were like, no, don't sub him in.
so
And I'm like,
terrible.
what's your problem with this guy? And then I watched it. I'm like, giveaway.
Bad. I think too. It's
Terrible
Alphonso
decision.
Davies where he plays. He's easier to mark because it's easier to go have a guy stand beside him, and then just stay with him. Like if he's allowed to roam, go anywhere he wants, like move around in the field, kind of like a Messi or Ronaldo. Let him go. Like, why? Let him play wherever he wants. And then he'll pop up here, pop up here, pop up here. He's your best player by far. Like, that's what Ronaldo doesn't have a position. He plays wherever he wants. Like, he just goes wherever he wants because he's tough to mark then. Messi, same thing. He kind of sits in the middle of the field, but he's tough to mark because you don't know who's got him. If you got a guy playing left back or, playing, in the midfield on the left side, you go stand beside him and he's only going to run up and down the field. Like, you're almost cutting the field off if you just play him on the left side, and he's only allowed to go up and down on the left side of the field. Let him run all over the place. That's just my opinion. Like he's your best player. He's your best offensive player, And so you gotta allow him to roam a little bit.
It's cool to see the men's side, first of all, get to the World Cup a couple of years ago. Now the Copa has expanded to see them. And now we can kind of, as a nation, understand. I know there's a lot of people that knew what Copa America was, but now that Canada's involved, it's interesting to see this team on this stage as well. And Maddie, you were saying, like, this is a huge deal. And then they qualified. It was a big deal. And now we're seeing it, what kind of tournament this is. You were with the team in Qatar.
Yes.
At the World Cup, and that was under the guidance of John Herdman. And you said like there was a good vibe with the group, and they meshed well. And then I remember talking to Maddie a couple of times in the last year and a half, and that had been disrupted a little bit. And there was some, I don't know if it was dissension among the ranks, but it wasn't as everybody is on the same page as they were before. Is it getting back to everybody being on board now that they have a new manager? And they're like, what's your sense of
Well,
that?
I'm not around the team as much anymore. I used to be around the team a lot more. I think obviously they unified against their own federation. I think that's what it was. That's what kind of unified them. It's like well, we're gonna all the employees are unifying against the boss.
Well, women did it too on the women's side, right?
Because the Canadian Soccer Association is it's such a mess.
It's a mess.
It's a mess because the positions don't pay well, and the people running it don't really know what they're doing, and it's just like in soccer itself in the country, it's everyone's pulling in different directions, and you're seeing that with everyone's starting their own academies now and come play for our academy team, and it's hurting the leagues and it's hurting this, and players are being taken away.
Grassroots is a mess.
It's a mess.
It's
a
huge.
absolute mess.
Steve Sandor has a lot on that too, of just like how it's like great that we're seeing these top teams do well, but that's not a byproduct of Canada doing well just everywhere else. It's just it's been lucky almost.
Like in my opinion, grassroots, like it's kind of like grassroots hockey. They should do it like hockey. In hockey, if you have to play in your district, whatever district you're in. Like my nephew is in a certain district, he has to play for this club. Mm-hmm. In soccer, you can play for wherever he wants. You got clubs poaching kids.
Are those in hockey kind of transitioning to
well,
that
academies are kind of
creating that issue as well. But you get your minor hockey. Like when I registered my Emerson from hockey, I could only register from this club. Mm-hmm. So you got to play in the district, and obviously you get the parents who forge the addresses or whatever. Like, oh, I want my kid to play White Mountain West, so I'm gonna pretend I have an address. Like that's ridiculous.
Yeah,
like, you're 9 years
but that's
old.
been happening forever.
It happens forever. Like it's happened back in my day. Like some kids are. Like how are you playing for South Side if you're living on this
my
side?
neighbor.
Oh,
I live
yeah,
on the north
exactly.
side.
So it just happens. But I think they need that. It's club soccer. The club soccer structure is just a mess. Everyone's in it for themselves. They're just in it for their own club. Hockey. They're not pulling in the same direction. And until you get everyone under one umbrella, it's not gonna happen. And now these academies, everyone's starting up their own academy coming in here. They're trying to take advantage of the fact that parents are seeing, oh my God, they sell this dream of, what, if you pay this much money and your kid plays in this academy and he devotes his entire life to soccer from the age of 6, maybe you can get a U.S. scholarship one day. Right? Like you're like.
Not as much of a maybe, I don't think, too. They'll get a U.S. scholarship.
Yeah, it's more
right.
Like
they put it more as it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen, and you never know. You can go like Cream Rises. They're having this problem in the United States right now. They're reevaluating their whole minor soccer structure.
What did I see about the
because
US?
It's so much money to pay. It's like it's costed a lot of money to play soccer in the United States, way more than it should.
People are saying that it's a sport. Like one of the things that makes soccer so successful worldwide
Everyone
is it's
can
cheap.
play it.
Anyone can play it. And somehow the U.S. has created a problem where it's too expensive, to play. And they're ruining their development because it's too expensive. It's like, how do we screw this up this bad?
You need cleats, shin pads, shorts, and a t-shirt.
But I think
They don't even need that technically. Technically, you only just need a ball.
But I think the States the academy systems monetized everything's and you look at there's a reason why most of the players on the women's team are blonde and blue-eyed, right? Most of the guys on the men's team, where are the Latin players? Like where are the black players? Like where are these players? Where are these grassroots players? Like the Americans should be getting all these great young talented athletes and playing soccer, but where are these kids? Right? Because they can't afford to play because you gotta, whatever it is, whatever the system is,
a certain level of affluence. Is okay.
But before you go, back to the brotherhood, I would say with that though, what we've seen with Tajon's injury it does feel like it is.
That's
back
good.
too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that, based on everything Shanetti's reporting, everyone around there, that it's tight again.
That's good.
Which
Okay.
is something.
Yeah, it is good. And I think it's been this group has been around together for a while, so I think that's the situation, and they've been successful. And it's just when you spend a lot of time growing up with these same players playing in youth or whatever provincial competitions and all that stuff, then you develop a friendship and a rapport.
So in youth soccer, grassroots soccer, like you're saying, with the academies popping up, is it kind of like what hockey has become, where basically there's no tryouts? You basically negotiate your way onto a AAA team now. Like there's some kids where I'm like, how's that kid playing AAA hockey? He should be in like tier 1. He shouldn't even be a AA player, you know? And that was starting to happen even when I was a kid, 15, 16, but not to the extent where it's at now. And then I talked to Belsey, and I'm like, when do you guys have tryouts? He goes, oh, we don't do tryouts. We have ID camps. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, you don't want to hurt people's feelings now.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, like, you're negotiating to be on a AAA team, even though your kid has no business being on a trip. He's a tier 2 player, should be playing house league, but because mom and dad negotiated for him to be on this team. It's like, well, that's not really how you breed excellence.
No, not at all. And I think one of the issues with the academy problem with the academies when they first opened. When I remember it's hockey, soccer, whatever academy, they said, there's gonna be tryouts for the academy. You're gonna have to be at a certain level to play in our academy. It's gonna be an elite academy for the elite players, right? No. If you can afford to pay for the academy, you're gonna come play for the academy.
Yeah.
So it wasn't about the elite, it was about the richest. Right. And then what would happen is that same thing with the hockey academies now. You have all these, these people that can afford to put their kids in these academies.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily the best kids, but they can afford to put these kids in their academy. So now, how do you? And I had this discussion with a WHL scout once, because a lot of these kids are getting drafted from
The
the
academies.
academies, this academy,
Yeah.
that's academy. I was like, well, how can you truly scout a player from an academy where he's playing not necessarily against the best players in his age group, where he's playing against the richest kids in his age group? How do you make that judgment? And so it's been a lot tougher now, and they've kind of diluted the Bantam AAA leagues and things like that, because these academies now, and they want to start their own leagues. They want to, it's unbelievable. It's been a huge moneymaker now, and I think they're really going to have to rein it in. And anyone can kind of start their own academy and say, hey, come play with us. And so you're right. And you can't hurt kids' feelings anymore. Can't cut a kid.
Can't get zeros in
Can't
school.
get zeros. My nephew was dropped down at tier 2. My sister got so upset. I'm like, it's just part of life. Sometimes it happens. And then she's upset with his lack of playing time. She's upset with, it's like, it happens. Like, this is like, the club soccer. If he wants to play more, he's got to get better. Like, that's an incentive to get better.
Yeah.
That was always an incentive for me. I'm not playing enough. Okay, I'm going to try and get better.
Yeah.
Not this that he deserves it for some reason, or he belongs, or should be fair. No, life is life is not fair.
Yeah.
So I think that's the one thing we got to stop teaching kids, that life has to be fair. It's not.
You need to win.
Right? It's not fair, but you gotta fight for everything you have in life, in my opinion. Right? So to tell kids that life is fair, everything's gonna work out.
You can fail up.
Yeah. Failure, don't worry about failing, because no one fails anymore. Here's a participation ribbon. Like, come on.
Which, don't blame millennials for that. Millennials get I get blamed. The millennials
the
get blamed.
participation ribbon.
They were given to us.
No,
that wasn't that's not our problem. You gave them to us, to certain people.
that's my generation ruining it for everyone. Because I
that's all
get
I'm
it.
gonna
You
say.
want your kids to do better than you, or you were disappointed in school because you didn't.
Yeah,
whatever.
just
But
don't
that's
suck.
that made you who you are. That made you. You got to have some adversity in life, and you have to learn how to deal with it. And I think that's the one thing we saw that with the Oilers. You have to learn how to deal with adversity. And if you're trying to shelter your kids or shelter everyone from ever having to deal with any adversity, then they're never going to learn to deal with it. So I think that's the one thing too. Like, hey, my nephew was incredibly upset when the Oilers lost. Like, you get it. He was really upset. And I was like, well, that happens. That's life. Life doesn't always work the way you want it to. So, best off learning it. So come back again next year.
Back to the game. Duck Dad says, think Canada might have to start Miller, though. Schaffelberg is good starting, but an incredible game breaker subbing in around 60-65 when Venezuela has tired legs. You didn't like Schaffelberg and what you saw.
I thought he
from him.
went down too
I will
easy.
say I wanted to see him as a starter because he was a great sub for the first two. I'd go back to him being a sub. Straight
Yeah,
up.
I think so. Because he's very effective sub.
And with those tired legs for the other team, I'd put him out there, but then it's Liam Miller.
As a player, you don't want to be a sub, though. You don't want to be that super sub guy.
Yeah.
No, you want to start. You want to be the guy that comes off the bench and I have to play against tired players to be effective. You don't want to be that guy. So I'm sure Schaffelberg is trying to say, yeah, I know you can. I can start. I can play. I can be as effective against guys that are not as tired type thing. But that's the problem with the Canada is that they don't have the depth, right? If a guy goes down, then there's not a lot of guys to follow them. They got a lot of good young players coming up in the system. So for the most part, I think they'll be fine today against Venezuela as long as they don't go down a goal.
You gave Schaffelberg the kiss of death last week.
I still didn't mind his game.
You're like,
I didn't mind him going down at times.
He's a tough guy to tackle.
Oh,
He
he's been
doesn't
tough.
go down. And then he was
goes.
rolling around. I'm like, this guy's a
Sometimes you got to play those games.
oh.
Sometimes
are
you
we
got to play.
gamesmanship or we?
When the other team's going to do it, you've got to do it a little bit.
Oh, he did it.
Oh, that's a bad shot. That was actually pretty good.
we got this-
I don't know if you saw Pedro. Pedro got hurt and Olmo came in.
No, I did not see
Yeah,
that.
like 7th minute, Pedro got hurt.
Pedro's out already.
Yeah.
You got to take that to your left foot, man.
We got Germany and we got Spain right
Germany
now
and
with the
Spain
Euros.
going on right now at the Euros. That's gotta tell you, that'd be such a good game.
This
to
is
go
the
to.
game of all of the
This
games
could be
of
the final.
weekend.
This should be the final. To be honest with you, I'm surprised that.
Well, the
they
way
made it
that
in
it was
quarters.
stacked on the one side,
Yeah.
it was ridiculous
Yeah.
how this all went.
And then you got England with a easy breezy path to the final, which they'll blow.
They almost blew it last
They're
match.
gonna blow
7 o'clock Canada taking on Venezuela tonight, though, by the way, on TSN as they look to punch their ticket to the semifinal, which if they do, they take on Argentina, and it also means a lot of money coming in. I think right now they've made $4 million. I think $2 million for being in the group, $2 million for being in the quarters. I think they get another $4 million if they win this match, guaranteed, because they'd be 4th place minimum.
Nice. McBrown Mark texting in says, did you notice that Arrowhead Stadium had only 55,000 seats filled in a 75,000 seat stadium for the U.S. versus Uruguay match? Greater St. Louis has 1.8 million people. They should be able to fill it. Even Commonwealth sold out on a cold winter day versus Mexico. I thought the U.S. salivated for their national teams. Okay, it didn't sell out at Commonwealth, but it was...
We're on pace for a sellout against Mexico. It was over 50,000 tickets were sold on the Sunday, then the storm hit on the Monday.
Yeah, that's
40-some thousand people still showed up.
Which is
they
huge.
announced the ticket. It would have been a sellout. For this tournament, CONMEBOL has been in charge, and they've brought it to the U.S.
Yeah.
And they have overpriced tickets.
Okay.
They have
Yeah, tickets are way too high.
way too expensive all over the place for the entire tournament. If you compare them to ticket prices with the Euros, put them the same currencies, dollar to dollar.
Yeah.
Euros is way cheaper, like significantly cheaper than Copa America. Copa America is ridiculously expensive. So that's the biggest reason why people haven't shown up to this, is that a large part is the pricing is just insane.
They've outpriced the market, and I think the funny thing is with Copa America, when they stay in like South American countries, they can't charge those tickets that they're. So they figured, we're coming to the States, and we'll find the people to pay for them.
And Arrowhead's in Kansas City,
Kansas
not St.
City,
Louis.
yeah, it's in Kansas City,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both in Missouri, though.
Yes.
in Missouri. Well,
But they're trying to move to
how far is Kansas City to Missouri?
Kansas, I think, or are they?
No, Kansas City is a border town
So
I know, but
St.
they're
Louis.
trying to build a new stadium.
in St. Louis.
No, in
Kansas
Kansas City, but I think maybe in Kansas City, Kansas.
Okay.
Maybe because they're trying to play the
It's like-
politics game there, because the city they're in now isn't willing to put up money, and they're
Okay.
trying to play the game of, well, we need a new stadium, and I think
So
the
what-
other
what
Kansas
side
City,
of the line
I
are we
think the
gonna
other
build this
Kansas
stadium?
City is throwing out there, we'll pay for this
Yeah.
or something along those
So
lines.
Kansas says we'll give you the money, and Missouri says no, type thing.
I could be a little off on that, but I know there's some stuff going on with that.
St. Louis has a metro pop of 2.8 million. Let's see what Kansas City has.
And then Copa America, the other big game this week, Brazil, Uruguay, which just should have been a semifinal. It's going to be a quarterfinal match, and I don't know. I've liked Uruguay so far,
No, they've
and
been
I
really good.
haven't liked what Brazil has done.
No,
They
Brazilians
seem a little off.
Well, they don't have the same flair that normally they do. I think Brazil's having the same kind of problem where the soccer's being monetized there.
Okay,
And same thing. Instead of getting the kids from the streets coming through the system. You're getting the rich kids coming through the system, or the kids that can afford it coming through the system, and then you leave out a lot of really talented players going through that system. So it's just that's one of the problems. And like I said, club soccer has become such a big business everywhere in the world, really, but it's become such a big business. It's about, one, you got to keep the club afloat. I get that, right? How do you keep the club afloat? We used to do it with bingos and this and that, and I don't know if the bingo hall's still around. Is bingos are still a thing?
Gager Goes does it every so often.
Yeah,
bingos are still a thing.
Bingos. I remember the bingos. We used to work the bingos, and it was just a cloud of smoke. Like we used to endure kids to that. Here you go. You're a 13-year-old kid. Go work a bingo, and you're in there inhaling the secondhand smoke for 6 hours a day. Like that couldn't have been good. Someone must have said, "Yeah, we probably shouldn't do this to kids," right? Like back in our day,
It took a while to figure that one out.
Took a while, yeah.
I remember I had to work a couple of bingos, and you'd have to like put the ashtrays into the little
at
coffee
the end of the night.
tins at the end of the night, and you're just like, oh. And then they'd give you a bite to eat, right? You get a meal at the concession, and by the time you're eating it, it's like, I can't taste anything. All you taste is like menthols.
Yeah, I remember. We worked a few bingos for Grand McEwen when I was playing soccer there, and yeah, you just got home. I was like, I might as well throw this out. I'm not gonna get this. Like you're just reek of cigarette smoke.
Yeah,
it's like if you're at a campfire or something like that. But
McCord on the Bears social media account yesterday, he's like, "What's like one of the most disgusting things you walk by on a daily basis?" And he's like, he went by a bingo hall that shall remain nameless, and he saw a pile of butts in an ashtray that hadn't been touched for a long time.
Oh, like outside?
Yeah, and like gum and spit everywhere. And it's like, maybe time to clean those up and get the pressure washer out. Like, that is disgusting.
Yeah.
There's nothing more disgusting than just cigarette butts piled up. Ugh.
No. But anyway, but that's the thing right now is like, they got to find a system where it's about the kids, not about the clubs making money, and not about someone, and it's...
So everyone will always find a way to game the system to find a way to make cash.
Yeah, so...
what do you think is going to ultimately, like through 20 minutes, it's been a decent game what I've seen Spain, Germany.
From what I've seen, they're knocking the ball around well. Spain and Germany, like... I saw, like, Spain at the World Cup. We were watching Spain at the World Cup where they got eliminated by... was it the Turks they lost to? I think it was... Or Morocco, I think they got knocked out by Morocco. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think you're right.
But they passed the ball around the whole game, and they wouldn't shoot it. They wouldn't cross
That's
it.
the Enrique.
I'm like, dude, take a shot. Like, I think they're a little bit better now, but it's like, take a shot, cross the ball, and take it up. And like, nope, we got to keep the ball for the whole game, and then we'll try and win 1-0. And
played the possession game fully.
Like,
no, this Spain team, I don't know. Watching them, I get the feeling like they're looking more like that team that went on the run of World Cup Euro. Back in 08 through 12 or whatever it was.
Yeah, they got talented players in Spain. And I think Spain, like their system is different where the big clubs identify the young players and then they pay for everything.
Build them up.
Right?
Yeah.
But they pay for everything.
Yeah.
So the clubs are going out there trying to recruit 7-year-olds.
But that's happened for a long time. Like, wasn't Beckham like 10 or 11 when Manchester United brought him on?
So that's how they run it there. Like the clubs are running the minor soccer system or the club system right down there, like the main.
That was a good challenge.
So maybe that's what they do here. Maybe the Oilers should run the.
Well, they have the junior Oilers now.
They do. What league do they play in?
They're in, I think, Edmonton minor hockey.
Are they?
Yeah, but that's created controversy because everybody wants their kid to be a junior Oiler.
Yeah.
Because they think now, the Oilers know my kid. He's going to be an Oiler when he's draft eligible.
Yeah, they're familiar with my kid. That's the thing. It's like parents living vicariously through their kids right now. So it's like, I didn't play in the NHL, but my kid will. It's like, right.
Well, I remember when Struddy was in here for the Hangout a few months ago. He was talking about it, and he was like, just even the development and kids around, they were trying to tell him how to coach. And it's just like, how do you go to an NHLer, former NHLer, 700 some games, and go, this is how you should be coaching. Like, this is what we should be doing with the team or something. Like,
Yeah.
I
So
think
was that a parent was saying? that?
yeah, like I think Strutty knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I think if somebody's going to try to figure out how to develop these kids properly, it might be the guy that played over 700
Yep.
NHL games and
Yep.
Strutty worded like he just been like, thanks, and then just walk away.
Belsey had the same issue. He's like, these parents, man, like
Well, they're crazy.
they don't know squat about hockey,
nuts.
and they're telling me, and I'm like, oh,
They don't
have
squat
fun
about
with that.
anything, but all they care is about their kid. Like, I try when I go watch my nephew's game. I stand. I'm not like I can't stand with the parents yelling and screaming. I just can't do it. I actually got into it with a parent because he yelled at a ref. 12-year-old girl who was refing the game. 8-year-old.
I hate the
And then I
yelling at a
yelled at the
ref.
ref. I'm like, "What are you doing?" And then he yelled at me, and I yelled back. And my sister's like, "What are you doing? Yelling at?" It's like, "Don't yell at the ref." I said, "Whatever you
These
do,
are
do not
kids.
yell at the ref."
Yeah.
Like
All
that's my
around,
thing.
yes, especially when they're younger.
Well,
I would
how-
agree.
you know, like-
but even then, like if you're, I'll say like, your men's league or whatever, some guy's reffing your game. He's taking time out of his day. He's not making a ton of
No,
money.
we're not in it for the money.
He's coming out there to help let you play this game.
Yeah.
Calm down. You're not going to the Stanley Cup here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, with that, like
I'm not gonna
when
lie,
I
I
ref,
hate most refs.
that's
Sure, but don't.
But I ref adults for that reason. You can reason with them. You can talk
Yeah,
to them.
yeah,
You you can't reason with parents on the sidelines. You can just say to them, either you can all go watch the game from the parking lot, or you can all shut up. And you're going to get the one guy that beak. And I'm allowed to say what I want. And I remember I was working the line for like, it was a women's league game, but the kids were all like 17, 18-year-old girls. And this guy kept beaking. And I was like, you got to stop. You got to let the referee. He goes, I'm allowed to say whatever I want. I'm a parent. And I turned at him and I yelled at him as loud as I could. You're embarrassing your daughter. You're sitting here embarrassing your daughter. And everyone's like, whoa. And then he's like, whoa. And then not a word out of him the rest
Yeah.
of the game. It's like, that's all he was doing. It's like, you're embarrassing your daughter here. Well, whose dad is that screaming like an idiot at the referee? Oh, that's my dad. Yeah. So like I think
Everyone knows who's.
yeah, and I think that
Who's that
it
person?
registered when I said that to him. And I didn't say it to him. I screamed at him so everybody could hear. And I'll do that every now and then. I want everybody to hear that you're the guy that's embarrassing your daughter.
Spicy DVD,
Yeah, I get
Latino
spicy.
heat.
I get spicy on the field sometimes.
Bones texting in 700 games, but still wears tight jeans under the tracksuit. Hey, we've got never nudes out there as well. So Bones, teach their
That's
own.
hilarious. But no, it's like everyone's an expert now. But the way I see it, it comes down to they just want what's best for their kid.
Sure,
Right? Like
they
that's,
do.
They do, and I think sometimes they go about the wrong way of doing it. And like I said, yeah, these coaches like, oh well, he's favoring his kid. Well, he's the coach. That's been happening since the dawn of time. If you're gonna be volunteering, putting your time in, yeah, your kid's gonna get some privileges. That's just the way it is. Like, it's just, so. But I think the system in Europe works because the club teams. They identify the kids and then they pay for everything. So if you're a kid playing in the street, like Messi was, like a lot of these guys were, right? The club identifies you. Oh, this kid has talent. We'll bring him up and then we'll pay for his club all the way through, and then we hope it pays off for the end. And so, and that's the difference in the system. So, but then these clubs have so much money, but they're not trying to make money in minor soccer. Their money is here,
Yeah.
and they're spending the money here. Trying to get it up. So I think that's the
Investment.
big difference. It's an investment. It's an
I got to
investment.
throw this out there. Clausen texts me.
Oh, hello.
Back to the book spine thing with AJ Hawk.
Yeah.
He says the book spine turned inward instead of out is an interior design thing.
What?
My wife flipped some of our books around a few years ago. Kind of looks cool, but also kind of drives me nuts. Well, Josh, apologies to your wife. I think it looks dumb. And to all interior designers out there, how do you know what book you're going to read?
Yeah.
It tells me that you don't read.
Books are for reading?
That's what
exactly.
it tells me is that you don't read
That's the
because
books are
you
there to
don't know
look at.
what book you're going to pull out.
Yeah.
And which one you want to grab. That's what that says to me. So, apologies to your wife, Clausen. Sorry,
That's
but
fine.
on
And
that
all
one,
the
I
interior
disagree.
designers.
I don't care about them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I disagree on that one. I don't think it looks as good.
I just envisioned AJ Hawk being like, I'm going to put some books in the background, and then putting them in that way, thinking that's how you do it.
Yeah, he's probably not thinking about interior design, but
No, he's not.
Like, again, it's just, I want to know if I'm looking at my books, I go in a bookcase or whatever, I want to see what books I have or someone has, or what do I need? If I need to go grab a book, I need to go grab something, or I'm going to give it to someone. I told him, like, I got to go pull out each book one by one until I find it. Like, it doesn't make any sense unless you don't want to read and you're never touching those books again.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's you're not reading those books. They're just there to be looked at. So that's funny.
If I saw a guy with a background on a show, former athlete, and his books are turned the other way, and I didn't know anything about interior design, I would just be like, that guy doesn't know what books are behind him, and all he's thinking about is football, beer, and babes. Just saying.
Football, beer, and babes.
Pat in the County says, 2 for 2 DVD. Florida traffic sucks, and Stephen A is awful. Also, PK is an idiot, according to Pat in the County.
The thing is, it's like, so when I watch the feed of NHL, I get the NHL feed. I always watch the Canadian feed because, okay, I got to give kudos to CBC and Sportsnet for some of those openings that they had.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very intrigued where you're going to go with credit for them.
But those openings that they had, the one...
They've always done.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I know.
CBC, Hockey Night in Canada's always.
For
had
a
those.
while there, they went away from that and they had the stupid voiceover.
Right.
It's not about the jersey, the name in the front or the name in the back. It's about the logo. Like, shut up.
Give me
Just
Nickelback.
Give me a good
a song and put just clips.
Yeah.
It's so, and they try to complicate it so much. Like if you went to Dallas and saw the opening in Dallas, where they tried this like futuristic aliens coming.
Well, their theme was AI this playoffs.
It was awful.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is this? This is just put some music, some loud music. The best opening I've ever seen, and I've gone through a lot of openings, was here in Edmonton. They had Kiss play a concert. And then, so this was back in the 90s. So Kiss played a concert, and then they had Gene Simmons come on this big screen, and he's like, gets the cart. Come on, Oilers, let's go. Gets fired up. And then they dropped the banners. They remember they had the big banners that they dropped of the players winning the Stanley Cups. Remember for the playoffs that one year? And then they played a Kiss song, I Want to Rock and Roll. And they had bits and fights. And the crowd went absolutely bonkers. Like, that's all you need. And I think who's ever doing it in Edmonton, they're doing it right.
Yeah,
because
shout out to Lindsay Gullett and his staff.
She did a great job there because so I'm with the NHL crew, right? They're from all over the place. They go to Tampa. The Florida's opening was awful. It was so amateurish. It was awful. I'm sorry. It was awful. Didn't get anything.
Well, you're not getting the best out there.
They come here and they go, wow. Like the way they did it here was just like,
it was great.
It got him going. And the crowd was crazy. And it's not that hard. And I think Sports Sense has figured it out. Get a good song.
Yep.
Get some good highlights.
And
that's all you need.
Yeah.
That's all you need. You don't need the voiceovers. Remember, they went a couple years ago with those voiceovers. They were just so dumb.
I don't need slam poetry to get me into a hockey game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they do it. They some of the broadcasts do that. They think they're being so stylistic with the voiceover, and they really want to win this
Not
game.
necessary.
No kidding. They really want to win this game. But was it the game when the Oilers were down 3-0? I think it was the Game 4 intro, and it was the. Was it? What was this? I can't remember what the song. It was an older song, but they're basically talking about the Oilers staying alive type thing. It was like, I think Everclear or Everlast. No, it was I can't remember, but it was awesome. Like it was like I tweeted. I was like, this is one of the best openings I've ever seen in my life. So, but yeah, Florida. It's funny because I wonder if the Florida people come to Edmonton and see that opening and go, wow, that is way better than what we have, right? Like Dallas people come here going, whoa, that is way better than what we have. Like you think that people would come up here and say, okay, they're doing it properly. This is how you do it. Let's do what they're doing. Because
the Oilers weren't good for a while. There was a long stretch at a point
I can tell you why.
from the end of Rex or early Rogers where it was. I know we got messages at 12:60 and stuff from a lot of like, this does not get me fired up. This isn't good.
They put the wrong people in place overseeing it. I worked with them.
Yes.
It was like, why are you in charge of this?
Yeah. They got the right people there now because it's, who'd you say was in charge of that?
Lindsay Gullett.
Lindsay Gullett. They're doing a great job over there because they're among the best in the league, if not the best in the league. Of all the openings I saw throughout the season, they were the best. Vegas Golden Knights was pretty good too, but
I do like Vegas's.
Vegas is different. They're trying to tell a story and they're trying to sell a show.
But it works.
And it does.
Their story worked
to an extent.
When I saw
Yeah.
it this year, like it
to an extent
made sense.
Like when
but that's also who the market is.
Yeah.
It's not for everyone else. And that's Vegas.
Yeah.
When you go to anything in Vegas,
Yeah.
that's what you're kind of expecting.
The coolest thing in Vegas is so they tell the story. they have the night, but then they drop these drummers from the, like in these neon. They had the neon drums and they had these neon glasses, and they dropped them from the sky, from the rafters. And I'm like, okay, that was pretty awesome. Like, and they do it with the graphics on the ice, and
Yes.
they do everything really well.
Not enough happens on the ice.
Yeah,
with
they
some
should do
teams.
some more graphics on the ice. Like that's awesome.
There's some really cool technology that can be done with
Yeah.
that needs to happen.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
So, but yeah, my crew, the NHL crew, they're from all over. They're like, wow, that was impressive.
When they're in the playoffs, based on just what I see on TV, the team that I think always gets it right generally is the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah, they do a good job too. Yeah.
They always have it. I never thought, like, I'm a Coldplay
goosebumps.
fan. I never thought you could use a Coldplay song to get you fired up for a hockey game, and yet they've made it work when they do it, and it's like that's actually really done and well done. And then the Rangers, I will say they're the Who that they come out to. When that gets going, it actually an MSG.
MSG's amazing.
Like it's just that one. I hope they never change it because it's
Yeah.
like why you've
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
There's nothing else you
Yeah.
should do.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah.
Stay with it.
So
The Rangers, if you ever get to experience a game at MSG, the Rangers do everything
yeah,
classy.
It's weird.
And they sell
Their
sell
owner
things.
sucks.
Their
But
owner
they do
does
so many
terrible.
things right.
And like they have just as many ads and promos as everyone else, but they do it in like an elegant way where it's not in your face.
a class to
Yeah.
them.
It's just a nice touch.
and I think the other thing too is I noticed in some buildings is that they don't let you breathe. Like they think that every stoppage, you have to pump up the music. You have to. Sometimes you just need a stoppage. Like you can't be 100 miles an hour all the time, and you need that. So I think that's some teams have to, like. I really don't. I think the teams that spend money on that it's well worth it because they get the good people, they get the better people to do it, and then you can tell the teams that are just saying, we'll just get this college kid to do it for us type thing, right? Like kids straight out of school type.
Save money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, the best people want the other teams' jobs in those markets,
Yeah.
right? Like if you're in Florida, you want to be working for the Heat or the Dolphins.
That's true.
right? Like
That's true. It's not the number one.
that you're
Yeah.
working your way up
Yeah.
to a top team.
Yeah.
You're not the
Unfortunately.
top team.
Yeah, hockey in a lot of those markets, it's a stepping
it's a
stone.
step-
It's the same with
Stepping
media too. Like there's a lot of reporters down south like they cover hockey, but that's not their path.
No,
or that's their journey.
That's their
to
journey.
get to
It's like
the NFL team.
Well, it's funny because I know some in the States. Like to me, I cover high school sports. I had no problem with high school sports. A lot of good stories there. But I've talked to, high school sports is so big, especially down in Texas and the States, and they'd rather cover high school football
Really?
than the NHL hockey
Yeah,
team.
yeah.
Because high school football is huge. People will read your
10,000
stuff.
people at the
They will read
game,
your high
yeah.
school football story, not so much maybe not Dallas
Yeah.
story. So it's massive, and it was funny. I was in a Uber in Dallas during the Western Conference Final, and he was telling me we're talking about hockey and this
Yeah.
and stuff, and he was telling me, I'm a big high school football fan. I go to all the high school football games. I was like, do you have a kid that played high school football? I was like, no. My kids don't play high school football. They never did. I just like to go to high school football games. And he said, one, they're affordable. You can get in for a high school football game for $10,
okay, that's fair.
right?
that's fair.
And he says too that it's a great atmosphere Friday nights because these 10,000 seat stadiums they do sell out.
A beautiful stadium, some of them.
And
that
he
they have.
says,
Some of them are
and the
ridiculously
players are
nice.
really good. And so, but he's also saying that there's issue with high school. Similar is that teams are poaching players from different parts. Like it's high school
Becoming
supposed to be
recruiting now.
Yeah,
again.
it's supposed to be a regional thing, right? If you lived here, you go to this high school.
Yeah.
Lived here, go to this high school. But now they're just poaching kids from all over the place. But-
becoming like college.
Yeah.
Or it's another
and then I
college
saw that I
beforehand.
went to the Cowboys practice facility. I got a tour of that, and they have the stadium. Their practice stadium is used for high school football. And
It
stuff
has
like
how
that.
many seats?
10,000 seats.
Yeah, it
It's
looks
indoor
unreal.
stadium. It's unbelievable.
I would like to see a high school game, I think, in Texas. It does, though, sound weird to be like, yeah, I go to every high school football game and I don't have kids in
They don't
it.
have kids watching high school
It
football.
does sound a little weird,
It
but
just
as you
sounds-
explained what he said, actually that makes a lot of sense too,
Yeah.
though.
That's like going to your local junior A, junior B hockey team.
Yeah.
Because the rink's down the street. You're like, I know
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
guy's dad, that guy's dad, that kid. Yeah. I think that would be a correlation.
I get the same to a degree with the university. Like I go to watch Bears
Yeah.
Yeah.
football. I've never went to the U of A.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna go watch university football.
Yeah.
It is
It's
fun.
still a little weird.
It's fun.
good time.
Andrea texting in says MSG was absolutely amazing. I feel so lucky to have seen a game there. The atmosphere was so fun. It's cool, and they always get a lot of celebrities at those games. Frithie says bring back the oil baron, and then DVD. It was Evanescence.
Evanescence.
Bring
sorry.
me to life. It
Thank
was
you.
great.
That
We had a
was
few
awesome.
people. Another texter.
Evanescence, yes. Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's a good song, right?
Yeah.
And very apropos at that moment.
Yeah.
Another text says, I played minor hockey with Struddy, and you knew the way he played, he was going to be a player. Did you know he was going to be a fun broadcaster?
Yeah. Stray's a great guy.
He's a great guy.
So maybe he should be the next GM of the Oilers.
Who will be the next GM of the Oilers?
I don't know. That's a good question. Let's talk about that. What do you think? I have no idea.
I don't know.
They've done a great job of locking things down.
I have no idea who they're looking for. Like, if you would have told me who's going to be the next coach of the Oilers, I would have never said Chris Knobloch. I knew Chris Knobloch existed because Bob was talking about him all the time. We knew Chris Knobloch. We knew it's funny because it's Jeff Jackson's like, yeah, Bob sounds like he introduced me to Chris Knobloch. I was well aware of Chris Knobloch long before Bob mentioned Chris Knobloch.
But it's to your point, like the days, weeks leading up to Jay Woodcroft's firing, I don't think there was a single mention of Chris Knobloch.
No.
Remember we were talking about like Gerard Gallant?
I was throwing his name out there.
Bruce Boudreau and this and that.
There was, do you just go Glenn Gullickson? There was all sorts of, I don't think a single person had Chris Knobloch as a name out there.
I have a great Bob Stauffer, Chris Knobloch story. May I? Do we have 2 minutes?
Sure. We've got another 15 still.
And it ties into Fort Lauderdale and the draft, the McDavid draft in Florida. So we're there, and we finally started getting approval for Oilers TV like stuff, gear and stuff. And I was in charge of getting us the golf shirts and all of it. And I was dealing with Gordo over at Elite, and because that's who the Oilers used. And so I got these sick golf shirts. Rogan Dean from the Oil Kings put me in touch with his Under Armour guy. I love Under Armour. It's great stuff. And so I'm like, okay, everybody's getting a blue and an orange golf shirt from Under Armour. So I was getting everybody's size, Bob, Jack, my boss, Tim Shipton, our whole crew. So I'm doing like this order for like 40 shirts. And I'm working on like the design and this and that. So I got a bright orange one and just a classic blue, right? And I go and I get these things. I dish them out to everybody. I give Jack his. I give Bob his. Bob's like, what is this orange? And I'm like, it's nuclear orange, Bob. Like, relax. So we get to Miami or Fort Lauderdale or whatever. And we go and do a panel. And Bob's wearing the blue Oilers TV golf shirt. And then he goes, just so you know, I'm not wearing that orange one. I actually gave it away. And I was like, to who? It's like a double XL. He's like, Chris Knobloch didn't have a golf shirt, so I gave it to him. So Chris Knobloch, coach of the Erie Otters at the time, Bob's meeting up with him, obviously, after we're shooting the paddle. So he's like standing waiting for Stoff, and he's wearing this oversized Oilers TV golf shirt. I haven't told him, like, hey, you still have that Oilers TV golf shirt? You're welcome. But it was Bob just refused, and Jack hated the orange one. But it's like, I finally gave it away, but it's like super, super orange. And everybody hated it to the point where Bob gave it to Chris in the bag still.
Made him wear it.
Yeah. Well, he didn't have a golf shirt apparently, so he needed one.
Funny.
And I wonder if he still has that
Double
bad boy.
XL.
Yeah.
Let's go buy a different one.
You would think, but Bob was like, no, take this.
Brianna probably like, yeah, you should wear this one. Wear this one.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Bob didn't
XL.
just tell you to order a black one for him.
No, I was in charge.
Yeah, I'm just afraid.
I got navy ones the next year that were really sharp. Everybody,
I don't mind it. I don't mind an
one.
orange shirt on a golf course. I don't think I'd wear it for anything else. I think I have an orange one somewhere.
I have an orange Dutch shirt that was given to me.
Yeah,
That's cool.
Dutch reporter came by and gave it to me. So it's been nice.
they could look well.
Yeah, it was good. It looks good. So,
but yeah, back to the gym then. I guess it's.
I don't know.
Is there a chance this comes from outside the organization, you guys think?
Yeah, of course.
Or is this going to be inside?
No, I think it comes outside. I know, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Keith Gretzky if they pass him over again, whether he sticks around. He wants to be a GM of NHL team. Yeah, Keith.
Yeah, he's open to it.
Right?
I didn't think he was, and I asked him about that last year. He's like, why wouldn't I?
Yeah. He wants to be the GM.
Does he have a chance anymore?
I don't know if if he gets passed over here, I don't think he has a chance here anymore.
57. Would another team be looking at Keith Gretzky over the next few years?
Everybody knows him.
I don't know.
Everybody likes him, and despite his bubbly disposition, when it's game time, he puts on his game face, and when it's time to work, he means business. That's what I appreciate about Keith. And I think most people in the hockey community, especially on that side of the game and the executive levels, kind of see that with Keith. He's kind of created his own path, not trying to follow Wayne and stuff like that. And I appreciate and respect that about Keith.
Spain's shooting the ball. That's weird. You should try to pass it in.
They've had some decent chances. I won't lie, watching this match.
Usually in Spanish, they try to pass it through. Or what they'll do is they won't take the shot. They wouldn't, like 2 years ago, they don't take that shot. They stop and pass it back all the way to their goalie. So I was just like, come on, guys.
They look like the better team right now.
They do.
Over Germany. What is possession? Although Germany has possession 55-44. But shots are 8 shot attempts, 4 on goal for Spain, 3 attempts, 2 on goal for Germany.
Yeah.
So Spain's they're taking advantage of when they get the ball.
Yeah, Spain's doing more with the ball.
They right now they look like the better team. Although with Germany, I was very intrigued to see what Julian Nagelsmann could do with them as the manager, and he's doing what I thought. He's just such a good manager.
Yeah.
And I'm stunned that he's sticking around for 2 more years to take this country to the World Cup and not just getting back into the club world.
Well, because the Germans, they want consistency in their head coaches. Like, you look at the Germans, the people that have coached the German national team have hung around there for a long time.
Yes.
They want that commitment from him. So,
but they had to make the change with Flick going into these Euros because it just wasn't going well under him. And it looked like at the time Nagelsmann was just going to be the guy to get them through this tournament and then jump to club. And then they could find their next guy. And then, he was being rumored at a couple jobs. And for him to say, I'm not going to be at club for 2 more years, that's surprising to me. Although Jurgen Klopp, the reports are with him that obviously he would take the German national job one day. But he's also would be interested in the U.S. national job.
Well, if they paid
which
him,
would be fascinating.
He would have to rebuild that whole system. I think that's the problem is not necessarily the 11 guys on the field. I think it's the entire.
Well,
you have to reroute the whole.
Soccer fans would also have to understand that he's a very intelligent individual who's not afraid to speak his mind on certain issues.
Well, yeah, he's
and I don't think he would shy away from that while being in charge of the U.S. national team.
Not.
And that would ruffle feathers too. So while some people look at the football part of it and go, he's a great manager, I don't think they see the other part that comes with Klopp that I love about him.
Yeah.
But I don't think a lot would love once he's their national team coach, if that happens. Yeah. Or it's also just a case of Americans always just trying to think that everyone's going to come their way, and they've somehow got that leaked out there that everyone wants to manage the U.S.
Yeah, everyone wants to. Well, they have the money. That's the thing. They have the money, so.
They don't have to go to their MLS clubs to fork up the money to pay for their manager.
No. Please,
can we have money, please?
That's just
again, Jesse Marsh, the MLS Canadian men's national team head coach. I think that's the official title.
So they had to throw MLS in the title.
MLS is at the very front of it.
Yeah. MLS, because the MLS is paying half the salary.
The 3 clubs in Canada jumped up and support. And I'll credit to those 3 clubs for doing that and helping out Canada soccer in that one, because if it wasn't for him, I don't know who our manager would have been going into this and then to the next World Cup, which is so crucial. And man, we got the manager that a lot of American fans did want at one point.
Yeah. So... No, the GM job is interesting. I think there's a young guy out there. Like, the thing is, you don't have to get a grizzled vet type. The mistake. The problem I had with the GM search, the last 2 GM searches, whoever was in charge of them.
So
that's
Girelli and Ken.
And Ken, is that they said, we're going to scour the earth to try and find the best guy available for the job. We're going to interview all these people. And then the minute Girelli became available, hey, do you want the job?
It was like 2 weeks after he got let go in Boston.
I was like, what happened to scouring the earth? Like, if Shirley doesn't work out, we're going to scour the earth. We're going to bring the best person available. And Holland comes available. Hey, you want the job? It's like, okay, let's get the best person available. It doesn't, I'm not saying Ken wasn't the best person available, but there's a process there. There's a process that you have to go through. If you say you're going to go through the process, go through the process. There's a lot of young, smart hockey people around that need a shot.
But okay, I've talked to you so many times after games, win or lose with the Oilers, we're there covering, and we've talked about the Wunderkinds, and you always bring up like a guy like Kyle Dubas, and we had Chaika and how he basically abandoned the Arizona Coyotes, and they're like, what the hell, dude, going into the bubble? Is there a guy out there that knows and can kind of enter the old boys club, because that's what the GMs in the NHL are, who's that young guy that's appreciated by the other GMs and respected enough that he can get along and isn't an outlier. You know what
first
I mean?
off, Chica was a phony. I didn't like him at all. I thought he was.
I think I don't even think the analytics community liked Jake.
No, I think he was a guy that sold
Fair.
himself. He sold himself to the owner. It's like, I'm the smartest guy in the room. You should hire me because I'm the smartest guy in the room. He wasn't the smartest guy in the room. Like he said they were
Good
gonna,
businessman. He owns like Wendy's.
Well,
He's a franchisee.
Franchisee
He is.
of Wendy's.
Him and his wife. They
There you go.
have like 15 different Wendy's
you go.
locations.
good for them.
Yes.
Like that's great. But
Baconator.
it's just a matter of selling yourself to the right person. He sold himself to the owner.
Dallas Aikens to Craig McTavish.
Great, did Craig
Bingo.
McTavish. He had some help from CSN people in that regard, selling this guy as the next young, really good coach, which is fine. But how many of these guys are out there watching Marley's practices, right? You sell yourself. It's who you can sell yourself to, right? I've never been a fan of Cal Dubas. I've never, he's like, oh, I'm in analytics. We're going to do this. He's available. Here's $20 million. Thanks, Tavares. Come play for us, right? Like, it was just one of the, how do you build his team for the draft? He had the number one pick. He took the number one pick. And then there's smarter guys out there, but you have to be, I think Jeff Jackson's a smart guy. I really do. I really like him, talking to him, sitting down with him. He's the smartest guy in the room, but he doesn't have to tell you he's the smartest guy in the room. You can just tell that this guy's confident. He knows what he's doing, and he's not afraid to surround himself with smarter people. And to me, that's always a good judge of character. And I like that about Ken Holland, that he wasn't afraid. Hey, if I walk in a meeting, I want everyone to be the smartest guy in the room. Like, I want smart guys around. And he surrounded himself, when he was GM of the Detroit Red Wings, he surrounded himself with really smart people. And that's what he did. Jim Nill, like those guys, like they do that because they're not intimidated by someone that might know something more than they do. That's how you learn. That's how you become better. So you don't want a guy like Chickering, like Kyle Dubas, who's the smartest guy in the room, and he'll tell you if you don't believe him, right? Like you don't need a guy like that. You need a guy that's willing to take ideas from other people and incorporate those ideas. Like you have to learn. And I think that's what you're gonna have to find. That's why you have to go through this process. That's why it upset me that the Oilers didn't go through the process before and they just said, oh, this guy's available. He won a cup with Boston. Come with us. Like, you know what? If you had done your due diligence, you would have realized this guy was not the best GM available. Now, if you've done your due diligence, maybe Ken Holland's the best of it. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Ken is well respected.
Put together
He's a great guy. Put together a good group, right? And he admitted he made mistakes. There's mistakes going to be done. You go and you sign 10 contracts and you hope 7 of them work out. Like that's the security of Ken Holland, knowing that yes, I'm going to make mistakes. Yes, there was mistakes made, in this process. But in the long run, he got them to the Stanley Cup final. Like he did what no other GM could do with McDavid. Like they got them there. And so now Jeff Jackson is running the show. Him and Paul Coffey, who's another smart guy. And I think what the Oilers have done is they've gone from a yes man organization to bringing in smarter people who tell the owner, this is what we have to do. If you don't like it, I'll just walk out that door. And I think that's what this organization needed. They don't need guys telling the owner, that's the most brilliant idea I've ever heard in my life, when you turn around and say, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And he needs people to stand up to him and tell him how it is, not what he wants to hear. And I think that's why Paul Coffey's here. That's why Jeff Jackson is here. And I hope that the next guy comes in, he will be here. You want to run your team, you bring smarter guys and you would run that team.
Well, the good news for what you're saying is there isn't that guy because of where the Oilers are in the process. There isn't that guy that's just sitting out there that they're just going to be able to give that contract to.
No.
They'll have to do a full process.
But they did all the heavy lifting. The work has been done.
But that's where I hope personally that they don't just go to Stan Bowman on top of all the optics and how horrible that would be. But that is an example of what you just said.
Yeah.
I hope that does not happen.
No, I don't think, because I think the person pulling the strings now is not the same person pulling the strings before. And you're right. That is exactly what would have happened. The day Stan Bowman would have, there's that guy, right? And to be honest,
No,
there's many reasons to say no. There's also many that will just sit there and go look at his resume, and it's not exactly always the best when it came to Stan Bowman. So
Jasmine says, Maddie denied my EST golf request, so I won't be able to wear my golf drip. What did you do?
well, there's no spot for the golf tournament for her.
Oh,
But there might actually be one. I'll have to double check. No, actually, she was on my waiting list. Don't blame me, Jasmine. She was on my waiting list when this first launched, and then a couple weeks ago, I messaged her. I was going through my waiting list, and I got a twosome, and she said no. So I moved on and filled out the rest, and then we had a couple things open, and then on Tuesday we said we have one final spot. Dusty mentioned it, and then I got a couple of messages. She was one of them that went for the one spot, but people came sooner, and the person that came first got the spot. And so I had a mail her going, it's no. So don't blame me on that. Because again, initially, Jasmine, you had the email from me saying, I've got 2 for you. And you said no. So then it came back. But actually, I have to do some email. There might be one. Somebody's looking for someone. I've connected them with someone else. If that falls through, I'll throw Jasmine.
I had no idea about any of this backstory. I just read the text.
I know. I don't know why it's on her. She had I have the email, and from her also saying no, where it could have been, it was your spot. You could have had your twosome, Jasmine, and you said no weeks ago. So don't say I turned you down.
I love it. The gift bags look great, Maddie.
Thank you.
Well done.
We've got to now just get them on Monday to the ranch. DVD, thanks for coming in.
No problem.
See you later tonight.
Yeah, tonight should be fun.
Go Canada. We'll see if they could take down Venezuela, and then meet Argentina next Tuesday after the EST golf tournament.
Where's that semifinal? Do you know? Or if it would be Canada or Argentina?
I can find that quickly here.
Hey, by the way, as he looks for it, were you like the way Ecuador took Argentina to penalties? Were you surprised by that?
A little bit, but like I said, I didn't see the game. I was hanging out with you, so.
Sorry.
But no, Ecuador. Like they, like I said, those teams know each other so well. They know exactly what they need to do. But I think Argentina sounds like they sat back on the one.
They figured they really haven't actually looked that good this tournament.
They haven't
overall.
popped, have they?
Messi hasn't even scored. East Rutherford. So
East Rutherford.
Yeah,
MetLife Stadium.
MetLife. The other semi's in Charlotte, and then the final would be in Miami Gardens.
Charlotte. What stadium is that? Charlotte.
Where the Panthers play.
Oh, okay.
Bank of America Stadium. And that's also the home of the third place match. So if Canada beats Venezuela, good chance they're in that third place match in Charlotte on the 13th. Otherwise, if they could beat Venezuela after beat Venezuela and beat Argentina, they're in Miami on July 14th. Last one.
It's from Jasmine.
Go for it.
Laughing emoji. Maddie's right.
Yeah, there we go. See, there we go. Thanks to everyone for tuning into the EST Hangout presented by Hoots Art Iced Tea. Up next, it is the Lock Shop with Huss. I'm going to guess Jake. Maybe it's Pat. And then at noon, it's Oil Stream, myself, and Tom Gazzola right here in Edmonton Sports Talk. Your clear choice for Edmonton Sports. On behalf of DVD, Tom, and Matt, thanks for tuning in to the Hangout. Enjoy this beautiful Friday. Go Canada. And we'll talk to you in a bit on the Oil Stream. Don't go anywhere. Lock Shop coming up in just a few minutes.
Look at this. Let's go.
There you go. Right in front of the camera.
First-time guest, long-time listener, fan of the original draft commissioner.
Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. The difference is clear. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Gazzola with here. Joining us today,